guys. How are you?
Good. Looking better than I did the other day, I would say. Feeling better.
That's good. That's what matters.
Yeah, the temp only got to 104, so.
Oh, only 104, man.
That's it? Numbers.
Yeah, that's not.
104, huh? That's
Yeah.
nothing. It's child's play.
I think the last time mine was 104, I went to Rockridge.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Culz Sports Chat, episode 48. We're going to be talking about the playoffs in multiple leagues, be it the NFL, college. And when I first read David's background, I thought it said time to free Mike McCarthy.
Time to
I mean,
free
realistically,
Dallas
you are freeing him of, the oppression that is Jerry Jones.
That's
What's
right.
the point of firing him when in 7 days his contract expires anyways?
The satisfaction of firing him.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like maybe like a Trump thing of like you're fired, like it feels good,
Well, okay, so we'll start there because obviously it was Black Monday, right? We had a bunch of coaches get fired. Not as many as I think a lot of people thought.
Yeah, it was more like slightly gray Monday.
Yeah. I think it was Pat McAfee's show said there's an average of 7 to 10. So the 6 we do have, and the majority of those were in-season firings, is a low-end number. Now, Mike McCarthy wasn't fired. He will be a free agent in 7 days. But the Cowboys are actively denying requests for him to interview. So, David, what are your thoughts on that?
So it is just a rumor. It has not been officially put out there yet. But from what I'm hearing, sources inside the camp are saying that they actively denied him being able to interview with Chicago, which there, of course, were rumors before the end of the season that they would be interested possibly in him. So it's kind of lining up with what we've heard before. So this is probably accurate. I have no idea why they're denying it. Unless, it is Jerry Jones, so they're probably going to make the terrible decision of keeping Mike McCarthy. But if they're not, it could also be Jerry Jones just being petty, making it more difficult for McCarthy to get hired somewhere just to, just as a final FU kind of thing, making him wait that week. We're going to have to just kind of sit tight and wait to find out, unfortunately. But, like you mentioned, contract's over on the 14th. So we got a week for something to shake up. Otherwise, he's going to be hitting the door. And I got a feeling Chicago will be seeing him the Wednesday after that Tuesday, if that's the case. So we'll see. But in my opinion, I don't want him here. It's not that I think he's a bad coach. I mean, he's already done great things with Green Bay and everything. Like, he's got it. It's not a good fit here. He isn't the kind of guy to stand up to Jerry Jones, which is definitely what they need here. He's definitely a player's coach. You can tell, I think, the Cowboys' total lack of discipline the seasons that he's been around. It's very comfortable for everybody, and they were doing pretty good up until this season, but it's just not working out. I think it's a culture clash with what needs to happen here. They need somebody to come in that's much stricter with them, that's going to lay down the law and be like, we got to turn this game around. So, I wish him the best. I got nothing against the guy, but not the right fit for here. He's got to go.
Now, where do you think Dallas goes if they don't happen to bring McCarthy back? Like, where would you see them pivoting?
That's the only thing that's making me slightly think they would keep McCarthy, only because I have no idea who they bring in. I don't think there's really anybody out there currently looking for a job that matches with Jerry or matches with any of that going on. So, honestly, he might even start looking into the college scene, see if anybody there. Again, just for the media blitz, I could see him trying to get Coach Prime down from Colorado. Yeah. And that would be so stupid, but it would be in line with Jerry Jones always trying to make those headlines. I really don't want that to happen, but I could see it, unfortunately.
I think Coach Prime would turn things around. He did in Colorado.
Honestly, he'd be an okay coach probably, but not paired with Jerry Jones.
Probably not with Jerry Jones,
yeah,
but
with both of them together, it would just be a mess. And I think he would try too hard to bring his kids on too.
Well, they're going to get drafted anyways, but
but who knows what he would trade away to get up there to get you
him.
know.
Yeah, I mean,
Though,
but
hey,
at the same time-
I'm down for getting rid of Dak too. So whatever.
I was gonna say, go with what you know, I guess, right?
I mean, it would be an absolute media circus if all of those things fell into place, you know. And Jerry's the kind of guy that loves that kind of thing because in his mind, the more eyes on the Cowboys, the better.
But
And
no
it would
press is bad
definitely,
press.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it'd keep the news cycles going for at least another season just on that alone. It would sell those tickets, but in the long run, Super Bowl sell tickets, and I don't think that that's our ticket to get in there. I could see it being a possibility. I'm sure they've talked about it. It has to at least have been discussed. Like, no doubt there's been conversations about it. I don't know if they've gone yes or no on it, but I'm sure they've talked about it. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't know where they go. I don't think offensive or defensive coordinators anywhere near good enough to step up to take it. Honestly, the smartest move they could have made was to get rid of McCarthy last year and move Dan Quinn up probably to head coach of the Cowboys. You know, he stuck around an extra season because he thought it was going to happen. It didn't. He had to leave, and Commanders are doing great compared to where they were. Like, he turned that team around big time.
Oh, 1,000%.
So, yeah, I think he would have been a great fit here. The players already liked him. You know, he already had a good feel for what was happening. But, again, Jerry just made the wrong decision as always. So, at this point, I think they're kind of stuck. I don't think keeping McCarthy is the ticket, but I don't know what is, like, what's feasible for them.
You know,
Unless they're going to poach somebody. What's that?
I mean, they might. There's a chance of that happening, I'm sure, right?
I mean, that's Jerry's go-to move is just to throw around money. So
well, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I mean, realistically, like, you know, money talks. So
yeah, it does. It does.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities here.
I think another good move that would have worked for them, if they would have spent the capital needed and made the moves to get Sean Payton here before he went over to Denver. I think that would have been a pretty good fit. He is the right kind of coach, I think, for this team. And I think he could have handled Jerry, but still doing his own thing, which is what.
And he wanted to go to Dallas.
He did. He wanted to be here. He likes the area, the culture. He's actually somewhat friendly with Jerry. I know they did like back and forth things throughout the time when he was with the Saints, just like, you know, getting to know each other. Like, I think that would have been a really good fit. I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe we've talked about Denver possibly moving on from him. I don't think they're going to. I don't think it's time for that. They haven't given him enough of that chance there. But if Jerry makes the money right and, you know, talks with the Broncos and stuff, that could still be an option. They could be replacing him with
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. I mean, or worst comes to worst, they just bring back Jason Garrett, right? Old crowd favorite.
Hey, they could always trade for Kyle Shanahan because I know that's been a hot topic. Is teams trading for Shanahan?
Yeah, I think there's some bad blood there. I don't think with his history with the Cowboys if Jerry would do it, but there's worse options.
Right. Yeah. This year, the more I look at like who's available and who keeps getting the same interviews from everybody, it's not a good coaching year.
It's really not. It's kind of like when you get a slow draft year. There's no creams rising to the top. It's kind of you can make steps forward, but are any of them really what you need?
Everything is just middle of the road.
Well, or in some teams' cases, steps into the past because it looks like the Jets are really heavily considering Rex Ryan coming back. And
that would be so funny. Again. It'd be so funny.
Oh, that's absolutely wild.
It's only a little less wild than Van Joseph, who was head coach of the Broncos, now being their defensive coordinator, which is just weird to me. Like, you were the head coach and now you're just like a position. But yeah, I know the Jets have also like interviewed Vrabel and like pretty much everyone that can coach. They might have interviewed a couple of ball boys that they're like, they might be able to coach.
I mean, like I told you, they requested the interview and I just couldn't do it.
That's this. I mean, realistically, at this point, it's, you know, what do you have to lose? What you know?
Yeah, when you're the Jets.
At this point, they're just like, have you ever flown in a jet? Because if so, we're interested.
Yeah.
Have you ever read a book about jets? You might be qualified.
You've looked up in the sky before, right? Oh, good enough. Let's go.
Yeah, good enough.
Did you have a toy airplane as a kid 40 years ago? You're hired.
You might be overqualified.
There's a chance, absolutely.
So I'm trying to think. So Vrabel is probably the hottest name right now as far as coaches go. He's the one I think every team has at least put an interview request in. I know he's next up on the Bears docket. He's done Jets and Patriots. Seems like the Patriots is where he will end up, especially seems like I did not expect them to fire like that. I don't know. I know they weren't doing good, but I
No,
didn't expect 1 year and that's
see,
done.
they're not doing great, but I don't blame the coaching for that.
No,
I think they're just still in their rebuilding process. They finally, I think, have a decent quarterback that I think they're going to keep for a bit. I think he's pretty all right. They got some talent. They just need some more. I would have given that coach at least another year or two.
yeah.
Try to get the ship right.
Yeah, because I think, sure, they're not there yet, but they definitely are making steps. Like
Right.
they're making strides towards it. You can't expect somebody to come in and instantly have a great year. Like, let's say McCarthy goes this year. I'm not expecting almost anything from the Cowboys next season. Bringing in a new head coach, it's tough. Any team, it's going to be difficult to get everything going in time for a year. You got to give it at least a couple.
Well, and that's the thing. Is like, because you're completely right. Like, unless that coach is just the worst coach in the world, and like he's like a team cancer, like just doesn't fit like with the rest of your team and things like that. You're right. Like, you can't just expect somebody to come in and be like, well, this is we got the worst team in the league. You know what I mean? And all right, we'll give you a year. And you're like,
Yeah, okay, thanks. I guess I'll just take the money and run.
all right, cool. Yeah, like that's cool. Yeah, exactly that though. It's just like, oh, but I mean, like,
I think the only ones that would have a chance at that, I guess, is maybe when you're moving up a coordinator who's already been there for a couple of years.
right.
If it's somebody that's established, I think they have a better shot since they've already gotten a lot of that groundwork done.
Well,
But
yeah, you got rapport and things like that with the.
it's just it's tough. I mean, you're brand new at it. You can't expect somebody just to be fantastic right off the bat. It's like bringing in a rookie quarterback. I mean, even if they got all the talent in the world, it takes time.
You can though. That's the thing. Like sometimes you can, right?
It's like lightning in a bottle, yeah.
Right, but you know what I mean. It's just like, oh yeah, bring this coach in or whatever. It's like, what is it? The Browns team from a couple years ago. It was like on paper, like these guys just you got talent out the wazoo. You know what I mean? Great team kind of thing, and it's just like, what is going on? Like, why can't we get it together? And it's like, well, because the coaching was awful.
Yep.
And like sometimes that happens or whatever, right? But yeah, at the same time, it's like, yeah, you can't take a terrible team and expect the coach to, do great or whatever with a terrible team.
I mean,
With
I
a
would
good team or middle road,
definitely
not bad, but
I would definitely rather have like a mediocre to good team with a fantastic coach than an amazingly talented team with horrible coaching.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
It makes all the difference in the world.
it does. 1,000%.
Nolan, your team obviously is also looking for a head coach. What are your thoughts there?
That they should just at this point hire David. He's probably better off than other people that we have gotten. I don't know, man. My team is falling apart right now. So it's one of those things. Like, I've just haven't been paying attention to him all that much. If I'm being honest, I was like, well, we're out. Like, it's gonna be a rough couple of years. I mean, it's still been a rough couple of years since since the goat in my eyes, Drew Brees left. But it's one of those things that every team goes through this, I guess, or something. I don't know. Some more than others.
I was about to say the Saints have had it pretty rough though. They had those couple of golden years with Breeze and Peyton still there, and now it's just
and it's
even
just
with Archie there, it wasn't the best.
So it's one of those ones that I was like, if I'm being honest, I just haven't paid attention because I'm like, it doesn't really matter right now because we're still not going to be super great as a football team or whatever. And I honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat as David. It's like, I don't know who I would choose or if I would go with anybody. If I'm being honest, like go search around, for a college coach or something like that. Maybe, but I was like, because like realistically, it's not like we have some crazy like kick-ass like offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or something that's like, yeah, we should probably move this guy up, like you run into that quite a bit. But what I was also going to say about that, David, is like sometimes that happens. Like sometimes it's just like one of those things like dude is really good as like a coordinator or whatever, like either
and then falls apart. Yeah.
And then like is just really terrible at like doing the whole head coaching thing. And it's just like, what happened? It's like, I don't know, man. Some people just aren't built for the head coach bit. They're like just really good at like.
And I would understand those fears when it came to Dan Quinn if it wasn't for the fact that he was coming from being a head coach.
Yeah.
And I get that he had the most epic collapse ever in the Super Bowl, but beyond that, he was pretty good with the Falcons. Like,
Yeah.
where have they been since he's left?
To be fair, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I think Jerry definitely made a mistake there. But I agree. It's kind of like sometimes college coaches, once they move into the NFL, they just can't cut it. Kind of like players. It's just such a different thing. So I could see some coordinators that they were badass at defense or badass at offense, but once it's all theirs, can't do it.
Can't do it.
That
Yeah,
way.
that's I feel like that happens relatively often. You know what I mean? Because people say that they're like, "Oh man, this dude's awesome," you know, great offensive coordinator or something like that. And it's like, all right, move him up to the head coach, and it's just like, this guy is awful. And it's like, yeah, it's just sometimes like they're good at doing the specific thing and bad at doing the whole bit, you know.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, so unfortunately, Keegan, I really don't have an answer to your question from me because I'm deciding. I think I might put in for free agency and just go get a different team at this point.
Breaking news! I'm calling ESPN.
Yeah,
Nolan fandom is on the market.
Yeah, I was like, so I might go cruising for a different team or something. It's definitely not gonna be the Chiefs. I don't know. I've been liking the Bills lately.
Okay, bandwagoner.
Yeah. Well, I've been a huge fan of Josh Allen for a while. I've been liking that kid.
Like Bills, I can handle, but if you went to the Chiefs,
no. Yeah, probably not. It's one of those things that my dad's a Chiefs guy or whatever, right? So, but I don't know. It's one of those things like I'll just maybe root for my secondary team that I've always just liked, just because like I went the girl way.
Oh, hold on. The champ is in the room.
Champ is here.
What's up, gentlemen?
The champ is here.
Number one just walked in the building. How you feeling now?
Until the end of the football season, and we've got to do this every time.
Fantastic.
I'm all for it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But the other team that I like is like just random off base, but it's the Jags. Like I like the Jaguars. Just because it's like
somebody has to.
Somebody has to, right? Yeah. No, I mean I like the team colors. The team colors are pretty sweet. The black, teal, and like gold like that looks fantastic. But yeah,
I will say it was
random.
really cool when I went to see a game at the Jag Stadium.
Yeah,
I believe they're the only one that have the pool that people can be in while they're watching the game. That was cool. I was like, that's so Florida.
Yeah,
I hope they keep that in the new stadium.
They have to. It's iconic.
It's iconic, right? Yeah,
got to do it.
Yeah, nothing screams Florida, man, quite like a pool in the stadium.
Pool and stadium with drinks in hand.
100%.
Right.
Just getting drunk in the pool while yelling about football. That's Florida.
Well, speaking of Florida and the Jaguars, they did release who they're going to interview this process. They're doing Kellen Moore, Todd Monken, Joe Brady, Liam Cohn, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Patrick Graham, and Robert Saleh. So again, almost like the Jets, they're just like throwing things out and seeing what sticks at this point. And I don't know, man. The Jaguars have so much talent. I don't know if they need an offensive coach or a defensive coach.
Well, their defense was super awesome like a couple years ago, and then they started doing what the Jags do, where they go, "Oh man, you guys are really awesome," and then they just like start shipping people off left and right.
Yeah,
and it's just like, all right, this is falling apart real quick.
Plus, Trevor Lawrence had a pretty rough year.
Oh yeah,
like that definitely set them back a lot. He's the team.
1000%. Him, and I honestly I like Evan Ingram. I say dude's pretty solid tight end when he's not hurt or whatever. So yeah, it's but you're exactly right. It's like pretty much at this point like Trevor Lawrence is the team. But I don't know. It's crazy because like how we were talking about like, oh yeah, you bring a rookie in or whatever, you'd have like a bad year kind of thing. But I think realistically, it's just like you're just playing for the Jags, buddy. I'm sorry. Like it's it's like one of those things. It's like, oof, you're gonna have some rough years ahead of you.
The ceiling is only so high.
Right. And it's like I know you haven't lost a game since high school, but this is gonna be a new experience.
You're about to lose a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Like, used to the taste of losing, buddy.
Yeah, like I said, this it's about to be a little. All those losses are about to catch up with you right now. So yeah, it happens though.
It's character building.
Yeah.
My thing is like I don't know if he's gonna like stay there or what, but it is one of those things that like because I think it's 3-4 years because he was taken like number one, of course I think overall. So
But
You
he
have to,
did
like,
just
hang out.
sign a massive contract, so I don't know how many years that was for.
Oh, so they gave him a whole bunch of. Okay, it's been that long that they've given him a whole bunch of money and all that.
Yeah, this past off season they gave him like 250 million or something.
Well, you know what? That definitely softens the blow of being on a sucky team. Look, we know we suck, but here's money. Like, please stay. Please hang out with us. But it's one of those things. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine if I don't know, he went to a decent team, like the Saints. You know, they're a decent team. It's just poorly coached, managed, and maybe a couple other things. But yeah, it's just I couldn't imagine if he goes to a decent team and that team actually like does well and like kind of like builds around him instead of just trying to ship people off all the time. Like I just feel like that's a lot of teams, they do that. It's like, oh, we don't really care about winning. We just kind of want to like be here and then not really win football games, but just kind of be a team, and that's it.
Yeah,
Like,
the money ball aspect that's gone into sports as of late.
Yeah.
Well, I think to that notion too, it's like a lot of these owners do well in business, but business is not a team. So they can operate, like a for-profit corporation, but at the same time, they don't know how to run a sports team. It's an entirely different, beast that they don't know really how to tackle. You can't just keep throwing people at it till it fits. You have to work out that problem to have an actual good team underneath you to actually keep, fans interested and keep the actual, money part of this sport, churning out for you.
Brendan, who else got fired today? Was the late
Raiders
party.
head coach.
Ooh. I mean, it is the Raiders.
Yeah,
the
Raiders that still surprised me. Same with the Jared Mayo firing. I believe in it takes more than 1 year. But I think with Pierce, the Raiders are kind of turning to being taken over by Tom Brady. And so I think with Tom Brady, new ownership, he wanted to come in with a new quarterback, a new head coach, and be able to direct the team in where he wants to go versus, end or somewhere new. I kind of feel bad for like the Giants' next quarterback because they're going to fall into the same rhythm as like the Bears, where they draft a quarterback and then fire the head coach. They don't actually give him a full year because I don't see the Giants keeping Daboll after next year when they suck again.
Well, and I think the next Giants quarterback will probably be Ewers from Texas. Because it seems like Cam Ward will probably go number one. And then everyone's talking a certain... everyone's talking a certain Colorado quarterback going to Cleveland. And I know Grayson doesn't want to hear it, but...
Wait, what was up?
Nothing. Just keep.
You got
Look, I'm already.
Good news
as it is.
yesterday as well. Deshaun Watson's probably going to miss all of 2025.
Oh no!
I'm crying.
Yeah, so I did see the report. So he's missing 2025, and now the plan is to not only draft a quarterback but bring a free agent quarterback in.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's just on fire right now. They let go of a couple of I don't think it was them letting go of Ken Dorsey was not the best option, but then again, what's surprising about Cleveland doing that? But letting Andy Dickerson go was probably the best call because the O-line was trash this year. And just looking at Andy Dickerson's just coaching past, he's never been the guy to keep a team kind of together. So I don't know, again, why Cleveland picked him. I don't know why they put him on the team with Kevin Stefanski. I don't know why they picked him to be incremental to the entire type of offense they wanted to run. Just is what it is.
I feel like, much like a lot of other industries, I feel like the sports one, right, sometimes falls into that category of it's not how good you are, it's like who you know, right?
It's a lot to do with connections.
You know what I mean? I was like, I feel like it's a lot of this stuff is like connection central, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm cool with that guy, or well, we can bring this guy on or whatever. Like he's a good buddy of mine, and he'll, we'll be here. Might not win any games, but at least he's cool to hang out with or something.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's why the Cleveland Browns went 3-14, boys. Woo!
I was gonna say, is that what happened to Jacksonville with Urban Meyer?
oh, well, okay, that was a whole freaking train wreck right there.
That's a deep dive episode of its own.
Yeah, that one's
The Urban Meyer experience. All right.
I
Sorry,
would
we
not.
did
I
it.
do not want to go to that.
That
No,
that
thank
sounds
you.
that sounds like a terrible ride. I'm not hopping on that one.
Why does it smell like liquor and shame in here?
In today's vlog, we're all getting together at Urban Meyer's Chop House. We're gonna go record from inside.
I
wonder
mean,
if that
and
thing's
after
still open.
that, we might as well go get massages with Kraft, right?
And Deshaun might make an appearance. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll just call it bad
Ask that guy,
decisions.
bring him with us. He probably knows all the spots.
Yeah.
He's got the VIP cards. He's like, oh man, come
Allegedly.
Oh, that's
on.
crazy.
Allegedly, that's right. No proof.
Yeah, no proof.
Look, he happened to pay him off coincidentally. It's all allegations.
Yeah. It wasn't on camera.
Allegedly.
Just that was AI, okay? That was all AI.
Catch
yeah.
Urban Meyer filling up on a college student. You see Deshaun Watson doing Deshaun Watson things and Kraft doing Kraft things. It's just great. It's fantastic.
Hey,
And
it'd
that's
be the
football.
And that, yeah, and that's
Sword
what
ball.
for you.
highest rated YouTube video right there if all that happened in one video. You know it.
I got that in before the half-hour mark. Let's go, YouTube Shadow Man.
All right. And then the last coaching position is the Bears, which we kind of talked about because the Cowboys denied their request to interview McCarthy, but looks like they got interviews with Vrabel and Pete Carroll coming up, as well as Ben Johnson. So who knows? Like I said, it's all kind of the same names for every single team, so we'll see where any of these coaches end up.
Oh, yeah.
Now that you brought him up, I'm a little interested if the Cowboys do decide to move on from McCarthy. I wonder if they would give Kellen Moore consideration if he wanted to come back.
I bet you they would.
I feel like I totally forgot about him. I mean, he was actually okay as an offensive coordinator for us. Like, they did decently, and he would at least be kind of into the culture. I don't know if it's the right move. I don't know if he's grown any since then, but I could see them tossing him an interview.
Could you people stop taking my coordinators? I'm really tired of it.
What do
No.
you mean, you people?
What do you do?
Losing shitty football teams or what?
Yeah. Arizona, Colts, 3 other teams. Everyone freaking wants our OC.
So is there any team that you were surprised did not fire their coach, David?
Yeah, ours.
that he wasn't actually fired and that they were just gonna let
Like,
him chill
okay,
out on
so last week when they announced, they were letting Zeke go before the last game so that he could get into like a playoff team, which he did, but we'll talk about that later. I expected there to be like a footnote and be like, by the way, he left the star riding on McCarthy's back because he's gone too. Like something like I don't know. I can't believe that he wasn't the first to go. Like even at halftime of the game, if they would have come out and just been like, all right, buddy, go ahead and head on out, So the fact that he's made it even to Tuesday blows my mind.
Right. Grayson, any team maybe you were surprised didn't fire their coach?
Honestly, I kind of going into the home turf myself. I am surprised with Cleveland's track record. They didn't fire Kevin Stefanski because it's been 2 losing seasons in a row, and I'm surprised they have not let that guy go yet. Not saying they should, but they are. No one's saving them from themselves, so I don't. I was surprised they didn't let him go. So,
Nolan, what about you?
Honestly, I think everybody that has like been let go so far, or like has a rocky future, if you will, like with the team. Honestly, I think they've deserved it. But then again, this season, dude, has just been weird. Like
Big time.
you know what I mean? Like 2024, bro, was like drunk. Like it was teams that were supposed to be good were bad, and then teams that were bad were kind of good, and then like middle of the road teams, like some dudes just like fell off, and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't know, man. This year has been weird. So it's like, if I'm being honest, it's like there were a couple that maybe should have gone, you know what I mean, with like terrible, terrible records, obviously, but like maybe a couple of them like were like maybe you should get another shot, you know, like maybe
another crack at the apple.
Another crack, yeah, if you will, just because it's like, oh well, like we gave you a year, and it was like, well, you didn't really give me too much to work on, and then, well, this season was drunk. There was a lot of weird stuff happening or whatever, but I mean, I guess that's what happens when you write it in there, right? So yeah, I don't know, man. Trying to think of like any ones that are like or like egregious, right?
For me, I'm surprised Dable and the Giants stayed.
Well,
it's not that he stayed. I'm more shocked that the GM didn't get fired.
Surprised that Jacksonville's GM didn't get fired.
I mean, it's still early, guys.
I was gonna say we've still got still a lot of time left. Before,
I will say GM
next season for those
firings.
guys.
GM firings do tend to not necessarily be the same time as Black Monday. I think that takes a little more digging into to do a change of, so that could still be coming. I did just remember, though, there was some other rumors that I'd read that the Cowboys could be interested in trying to court Tomlin away if he's
trade for him. Yeah.
Yeah, or if he's ready to like hang it up over there, that he'd be a good fit. I think it'd be interesting. He probably would be a good fit, at least on the field. I don't know if he'd mesh with Jerry Jones, though.
With Jerry Jones, which it's absolutely crazy to me, David, because like it is one of those things like with your team, there are added factors. It's not like, can you just come in and like coach the guys and like run a good football team? It's like, can you coach the guys, win football games, and make Jerry Jones happy?
which is ridiculous. Like, it's not something that should happen.
1,000%. That is absolutely ridiculous, dude. Like, I would absolutely hate having that job for that simple fact that it's like, okay, you want me to win? You want me to win football games? Okay, I can possibly do that, right? I got to manage players and their egos or whatever, right? Okay, definitely in the wheelhouse there for a head coach kind of thing. And it's like, okay, but you have to keep the ridiculous owner that we have.
It's like you got to not only be a good coach, but you have to play high school politics and drama at the same time. Like,
dude, it's awful sounding. Like I was like, dude, I don't know why anybody would want that job. Like with that extra added stipulation of like, look at me, you got to keep me happy. Yeah, Jerry, I got it, man. I thought you wanted to win football games. You know what I mean? I'm out here trying to
whatever, bro, whatever.
You know, you're right. I got to. You're the boss. Got to keep you happy.
Wait, Nolan, you mean to tell me no one wants to willingly walk into a toxic situation? That's crazy.
I know, right? That's what
It's like, hey, this guy who's just horribly over controlling, you want to come over, right? Just bring it on over and risk your entire career.
I mean, but you're gonna.
Situation.
But we just got locked into a 4-year contract with an amazing quarterback. Come on.
Oh my god.
Jump on that. Jump right in there. Let's go.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, you're completely right, guys. It's like, exactly, who wants to walk into this toxic relationship?
100%. I mean, like, it's going to be the same thing with, unfortunately, Keegan, the Bears. It's going to be that way with a lot of these storied franchises where ownership is just toxic, and they're going to keep.
Yeah, the McCaskey's press conference where they're like,
"Oh, geez,
that was kind of rough," because he said he was less angry about the fans chanting "Sell the team" than he was that there were Lion fans cheering, and I was like. Not sure if maybe flip that around.
I don't think his priorities are in the right place. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes that's exactly how it feels. These guys. It's like I don't think it really matters, Keegan, if who you hire for your head coach, because some of the managers and the owners, these guys don't give a shit, bro. They care about other things that you're like. Huh. That's an interest. That's what you think. Yeah, that's what you're thinking, huh? That's what is on the priority list. Okay. Well, yeah.
I mean, Nolan, to your
we're doing
point, it's like this just shows how fragile some of these quote unquote titans of industry's egos are, and why they should not be involved in any decision on the team besides who they're willing to bankroll and who they're not. Because if they can't handle a little bit of this, they should not be the public face or anything of any team. They just need to let the people that know what they're doing do their job.
Yeah, but yeah, in my opinion, we shouldn't know who any of the owners are. It
100%.
shouldn't come into play.
Well, yeah, I was like, because it is one of those things, like how many times does that come into play, right? Like, look at what is it, like Washington, right? Like their situation, where they're like, nah, dude, you gotta sell the team. You know what I mean? Like literally, like forced him out and forced him to sell that team. It's like you have that much problems that, you know what I mean? Other people from the league is like, nah, dog, you got that's a no for me. You gotta give it up. You know what I mean? Give it to somebody else, because you're giving all of us a bad name. And it's like, you're right. That's like why that shouldn't be a thing. You know, it's just like, that's crazy to me that it's like, oh, that's bigger news than, you know, some other like news that might be slightly more important. But it's just like, oh no, Dan Snyder, get rid of him. It's like, what? Like. Yeah. How's this like? Why is this a thing?
Well, speaking of Dan Snyder,
speaking of Dan Snyder, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Which Dan Snyder are we talking about here, Keegan? We need to be a little bit more specific.
Specifically, the Nickelodeon one.
All right. Well, we're taking a quick turn, but I'm here for
it. No, but from Washington. That investigation obviously turned up like 70,000 plus emails or something the NFL went over. And suspiciously, the only ones that got leaked were John Gruden's. And of course, they got him fired because of the things he was saying. But he is apparently one of the hot coaching candidates for this year. Do any of you think he returns to coach an NFL team this next season?
I think no, because they like realistically, like with that, like you said, it's like coincidentally or whatever, right? That his were the only ones that got leaked. Like I feel like somebody somewhere has a beef with him, like specifically, especially when you have, you know, 32 teams. Like, you know, he wasn't the only one sending crazy emails, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like statistically, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's no way that nobody else was sending some crazy stuff. Like here and there, and it's like, oh, we just happen to single this guy out to get him out of here. So yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he's coming back. Mostly because they burned him, or they tried to get him out or whatever. Because, you know, maybe somebody somewhere doesn't like him, or he's too critical of whoever, right? They're like, no, I don't like him. Make sure he's gone. You know,
I think he's kind of blacklisted at this point.
That's what I'm saying. It's like 1,000%, especially when you get singled out on something like that. There's no way that there's, like you said, 70,000 emails or whatever. And then it was just literally just him, you know, like I find that highly unlikely.
Even if he does come back, I don't think he's going any higher than maybe assistant, maybe. And it's going to be like for positions like, you know, role instead of anything else. And that's being, you know, entirely optimistic and putting in a lot of, you know, fantasy for Dan Snyder's comeback to the NFL.
I mean, I guess maybe if there was like a really good storyline with it, looking for redemption type thing, but I don't think anybody's set up for that kind of thing, so I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not happening anytime soon.
Nope.
We'll see. Now that we've talked about all the coaching firings, let's go and talk something a little bit more exciting. College football, kind of the round 2 of the brackets went through. Much like the first week, there weren't too many close games. And I guess we'll get to it, but all the road teams won, so the bye weeks just didn't help anybody. And I think it's just too long between the games, unlike the NFL where it's like 2 weeks. So it's just like a normal off week. It's like almost a month.
I think it's also just the ages and stuff. I mean, the experience levels that a month pretty much, it makes them rusty. They don't rest. They don't, you know, it's not actually fine tuning for the game. They lose it.
Well, let's start with 4 versus 5. Arizona State hosted Texas. David, Brendan, how did you guys feel about that game?
Awful.
Stressful.
It was way, way closer than it should have been.
That was ridiculous.
The only good thing I will say about it is I think that game and the Ohio game definitely made strong arguments for why the playoffs should have been expanded like they were, because these are teams that would not have made it. They wouldn't have been in it. I don't think Notre Dame would have been there either. Like, these teams that did a really good job, made it competitive, and in most cases won, would not have been in the top 4 whatsoever. And yet they now have a shot of being the champions, you know? So I think proved the point that we definitely needed an expanded playoff system. So that was good. But that game in particular, Longhorns, they've really got to get their act together before this next game. Otherwise, they're going to be embarrassed because they were awful. Quinn was looking rusty. Defense wasn't doing its job. Offense seemed like they were on different pages altogether. I'm surprised they didn't put Arch in at halftime. I don't know what was happening. I mean, good they didn't, to keep Quinn's confidence up, to, you know, let him see it out, and they still pulled it off. But the fact that it went to overtime should have the Longhorns very concerned.
I think that defense needed to wake up
Big time. And we've seen monster games from them, so they are capable. They just didn't do it.
Like, they hadn't allowed over like 20 points all year, and then all of a sudden they let Arizona do whatever they wanted. That was ridiculous.
I think they came in a little too cocky. I think they thought Arizona was going to be much easier.
Maybe they almost got caught looking on to the next round.
I think they did, yeah. But I will say this. If they can win the Cotton Bowl, I think they take the championship, because that's going to be their biggest, is going to be having to beat the Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that Georgia would, of course, been their biggest competition, you know, coming together the third time for the top title. But now that Georgia's out, I think their biggest competition is going to be this Ohio game. I think they take easily the championship, whoever it's against, if they can make it past Ohio. Because Ohio, they manhandled Oregon.
I mean,
Yes,
was
they
anybody
did.
expecting anything different?
I thought Oregon was going to put up a much better fight.
I thought it was going to be they put up a fight in the first game of the year. I thought they were going to put up more.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought, didn't Oregon beat them in early in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oregon was undefeated. And I thought they were going to take, I mean, I thought it'd be kind of close-ish because they knew each other. They play a lot. Like, it's kind of like a divisional game in the NFL. You never quite know what's going to happen when those two come together. But they beat Oregon like a redheaded stepchild. That was,
Yeah, it wasn't even close. It looked like a round 1 matchup where we had a lot of those like just really crazy blowouts. This one was just like, are they in the same like?
yeah, it looked like the last game of the season where the other teams already clinched the top seed and they're just sitting their starters. Like,
Playing the start, yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I don't know, maybe to some degree or whatever. That's what it was. Is like you got everybody, nobody's hurt, everybody's fresh. You know what I mean? A little bit more of a fight, I guess, in the beginning of the year, especially because like, I don't know, you haven't had all year to not prepare, but to play and, you know, grow and get hot and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And then of course you have like injuries and things like that. You might be missing some key people. So that's generally one of those ones that's, I think, like realistically the most realistic matchups that you could see between like teams is probably, I'd say, like maybe about game 5, like week 5 to 8, somewhere in that range, when like usually, right, when most teams are like in the full swing and then like not super deep, so nobody's like really hurt yet or anything like that. So I'm thinking like, yeah, like realistically that's when you get probably the best matchups between like these powerhouse teams or whatever, that you're like, man, thought it was gonna be a lot closer than that for whatever it was.
yeah, I think they might have suffered from the same thing that Texas did. I think they were very cocky. They were undefeated the whole season. They're like, we've already beat this team. So I think they just went into it kind of coasting, being like, all right, easy, let's get to the next round. And they didn't expect Ohio to get in there and basically fight for their life.
I mean, that's how that works, man. When you got nothing left to lose, you know what I'm saying? Like
you got to play every game like it's the championship when you're in the playoffs. You just got to.
To quote one of my favorite football movies of all time, last game of the year, Brett. Can't hold anything back now.
And they won because they didn't hold anything back.
Absolutely.
God, I can't wait for the Bourbon Bowl this year.
I know. Love that movie. But yeah, that's exactly it, man. It's maybe that's what it was. It's just exactly that. They didn't hold anything back, and Oregon came in and was just like, well, it's what happens when you come in all cocky like sometimes.
Ohio came right in, punched him in the mouth, and Oregon just was dazed for the rest of the game.
Right.
Well,
Well,
see,
I mean,
that's the weird thing about Ohio State is they all like for some reason their dirt like regular season performance can be mediocre, but if they make it to the playoffs, they just come out hard and fast, and then they make it all the way, which I think, in all honesty, is going to give Texas a huge run for their money if they're not ready for it.
I absolutely agree, and honestly, I'm already looking forward to the rematch because opening game of the season this next year is going to be Texas at Ohio.
Oh, all right.
Well, and I was also going to say, like with that, after seeing something like that, I guarantee you, Texas steps their game up.
Oh, they have to.
Game,
They've got to realize how close they came to disaster. And
right,
that was against
and
Arizona.
that's exactly what it is. It's like, oof, we almost came out here. We almost got embarrassed. Like Ohio came in and did their thing against Oregon or whatever. It's like you go into this next game going, yeah, we need to get our shit together and be on our P's and Q's, because if not, this is exactly what happens, right? When you're not paying attention, when you think that you got it, you come in there all nice and easy, dude. It's sometimes that happens, man.
Well, see, did this happen with Boise State? Because obviously they've been talking about how Gentry should have won the Heisman. They come in as the number 3, and they not as bad as Oregon, but they get kind of smoked by Penn State. And
yeah, but I mean, like I feel like that's a difference of like who they play and things like that. Like you can, like a couple years ago or whatever, that's how it goes, right? It's like you always have an SEC team that absolutely just does not play the same type of football that Oregon does. Oregon can be number 1 all year or whatever, but it's like then the Pac-12, like, yeah, you're running stuff, doing whatever over there, but like you guys realistically do not play the same game of football. And they, they show up and they go, oh yeah, this will be a good game. And then Oregon gets blown out by 40. And it's like, you guys just play a different type of football. And I think that's kind of like the state, the Boise State situation is like, Penn State's usually used to having a little bit harder games, things like that. And I'm not saying that Boise's always like cruising, you know what I mean? But it is one of those ones that I don't think they have as strong of matchups as like Penn State would play with everybody like on that side.
Well, I think too, like especially having a bye week, especially also being in college, that's definitely got to be, a little bit of a slowdown for their performance for sure. Which I think Nolan, as you brought out, even though you're like top of your league, when you're starting to cross conferences and like divisions and stuff, you don't know who you're going up against. Even if you watch as much film, and even if you play or practice as hard as you possibly can, it ain't anything like getting hit in the mouth by somebody that for the real thing.
Right.
And,
like,
yeah, they got a lot of people.
Oh yeah, like I guarantee you, until the game came up, Texas did not study anything about Arizona.
Nope.
There's no way.
Yeah, most likely not. Right?
Like, you got to be ready for them. No,
they're like, dude, it's a party school. It's ASU. Like, we should just walk right over these guys. Yeah, that's. I guarantee you, that's exactly their mentality. They're like, yeah, they made it here, but like, really, like, who do they play?
They're like, all right. Oh no.
Hold on.
See, that's what
ready.
The problem was. McConaughey was like filming or something, so he wasn't at the game. That's what they were missing. He better be on the sidelines at AT&T this weekend.
Be letting the horns down if he ain't there.
But definitely,
sad horns.
To your point, Grayson, like I would definitely take, like if you were to ask me, like number 1 Oregon or like number 1 Georgia, I'm going, Georgia all the way. Like number 1 Georgia, 9 times out of 10. Like
100%.
Because that's just how they play. Like the difference in the way they play football.
Yeah, like their conference in and of itself for college football is like one of the hardest conferences in the nation.
Yeah, SEC is crazy.
The SEC is it's ridiculous, right? But
if
the
SEC could have had more people get out of it to be in the playoffs, it would be almost dominated by them. Like it's insane.
Well, speaking of Georgia, number 2 Georgia, so not number 1 this time, Nolan. We're good there. Yeah. But they kept it close for a while and ended up obviously just without their quarterback Carson Beck. They just couldn't keep up at the end. And for a while, they were outplaying Notre Dame. And I do think if Beck played, they probably would have won this game. Maybe not like killed it, but I don't know. Then again, I was just going to say, like, Beck has some really interesting answers about, like, questions regarding his love of football and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe not.
I mean, maybe he's just there for, well, I guess it's college now, so they kind of get paid, but a little bit of a paycheck or something. But no, I was gonna say it's one of those things like if I to jump back half a point, Oregon might be number one, but number two, I think Oregon beats Georgia, or Georgia beats Oregon. Sorry, if they were to play each other for some reason here. So it's it's again, I still choose the SEC teams. Maybe you're right though. It's one of those things college is so weird because it's in the NFL you can be down a quarterback, right? Like you can have a guy come in, you know what I mean, your normal, backup guy or whatever. He'll come in and he'll win you the game just because he's good enough to do that.
And the rest of your team is good enough to make it happen.
Right. And it's your guys, your guys will step up on defense, they'll special teams, whatever kind of thing. I feel like college is a little bit different in that fact that it's we lean on our quarterback hard, or we lean on, whatever receiver that's super hot, or our Boise State, right? Hella leaning on the running back. It's just how college is played.
Because realistically, there's only so many spots open in the NFL for people to join. So for a lot of these kids, this is the last time they're going to be on a football field in any capacity for the most
1,000%.
Right? So yeah, they're all kind of competing to get those very few coveted spots.
So, but yeah, I think that was part of their problem is exactly that. It's sometimes you do got to lean on your really good quarterback to kind of get you through or whatever, especially in college. Because I honestly think it's one of those ones that everyone's oh, the quarterback's the most important position. It is. I think more so in college than it is in the NFL, just because it is one of those ones that realistically, you can have a middle of the road quarterback, Kirk Cousins, but then you have a pretty decent defense or whatever that covers for that mid-level quarterback that you have. Because realistically, these days, I think that's exactly where we're at. Is a lot of these quarterbacks are, they're starters or whatever, but you have what, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen for truly elite guys consistently, right? I throw the consistently in there because you're gonna have some guys that have a great year or whatever, right? Baker had a great year. Joe Burrow, great year. You know what I mean? It's you do have guys that have great years, but it's he'll take a year off in between and won't show up the next year. You know what I mean? But I'm talking consistently been relatively consistent is I would put those three. Or whatever,
somebody
right?
amazing like Sam Darnold, right?
Right.
You have to agree with it. Otherwise he shows up and destroys us all. So just go with it.
So yeah, I definitely think that's exactly what happened though, is Georgia just, sometimes you lose, you lose a guy and he's kind of the heart of the team that gets you there.
I've got to say, with that, I think that Brendan, what was the name of that guy in the Arizona game that he was a running back or whatever, but he was just he was the team. He was amazing.
He was the team.
Yeah,
he even threw a huge touchdown at one point.
Yeah, it's
it's a ridiculous name. I forgot what it was, but I think he shot his
Arizona. The Cardinals should draft him.
He shot his draft stock up big time. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys try to pick him up at this point because God knows we need a running back. But that dude carried the team through that entire game. It felt more like Texas versus that guy than Arizona. I can't believe I don't remember his name, but he was phenomenal. And that's like you were saying, Nolan, I feel there's those one or two players on each college team that make the team.
1,000%.
And if they're out, you got nothing.
Well, and I think the only team consistently that isn't that way is was Alabama, just because it was 5-star guy, 5-star guy, 5-star guy, 3 rows deep. You know what I mean? 3 strings deep is you're loaded with 4 and 5-star guys or whatever.
Well, let's be honest. Nick Saban was the person that was the team. As soon as he walked away, I definitely took a huge hit.
But
that's Cam Scattaboo. Sorry, Brendan just sent it to me. Scattaboo. Get used to hearing that name because wherever that dude goes, he's gonna make an impact big time. He was so much heart in that guy, and he was crying on the field after it when they lost, and I do not blame him. He left everything on the field. Dude was even throwing up on the sidelines at one point and refused to go out of the game. He just ran right back out and did amazing. So, Scattaboo, I hated hearing your name that night, but only because it was against my team.
I'm a running back.
Yeah, I've been seeing a whole bunch of memes with him. He's like, I'm over this. Like, I'm over this shit. I was like, yeah, bro, I don't blame you. It's like crazy. Do all that work or whatever just for, to not really go anywhere. It's like, oof.
I mean, his draft stock went from like day 3 to like now like second round. So,
yeah. I think he's gonna go, if not late day 1, day 2 early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's enough teams that need a running back or just a playmaker in general that he's definitely going to go. But let's look at the 2 games upcoming. So we'll start January 9th is the Capital One Orange Bowl, which sees number 6 Penn State and number 7 Notre Dame. Brendan, who do you have winning that one and going to the 2025 National Championship?
I think Notre Dame, but I would like Penn State just because it's Pennsylvania. But I do think Notre Dame will be able to win. I'm going to jump on that track. One thing that I'm kind of surprised about is when I was looking through the NFL head coaching, like people who are being interviewed, the head coach for Notre Dame is not on that list. And I'm kind of shocked by that because I feel like I have heard a lot like he should be getting NFL teams like interested in him and stuff. So to see that there's no real college coaches are interesting.
I would think all 4 coaches that are in these next games should be ones that are at least looked at for NFL. I mean, of course, like there's no way, Texas, he's not leaving. Ohio, he's probably not leaving. But I think they all deserve at least a look at if NFL teams are serious about doing better, because these guys have proven that they can put it together, especially at those schools that you don't expect to see them this far. I think it says a lot for the coaching that they made it. Kind of like Nolan was saying earlier about Alabama. Like, sure, they had those great 5 stars and everything, but we all know it was the coach that changed everything around for him. That's why the field's named after him now. Saban definitely started a legacy there, and it all goes back to him.
1000%.
So I totally think that all 4 of those guys are going to be courted in some way or another. If they'll actually leave, probably not most of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't all get at least 1 or 2 phone calls this offseason.
Nolan, who do you have advancing to the national championship? Penn State or Notre Dame?
Honestly, that one is that's an interesting game, right? And I say interesting because I don't think anybody was expecting those 2 to be there, like realistically. But I think as far as like who wins necessarily, I think I'm gonna have to go with Notre Dame, and I go with Notre Dame for the simple fact that like Penn State played like Boise State, you know what I mean, and it was just one of those things that Notre Dame definitely upset a better team in Georgia, So I'm going with Notre Dame for that reason that I think realistically they showed up and beat the better team versus Penn State being the better team that just happened to be lower seeded, if that makes any sense.
David, what about you?
I've got to agree. I think it is going to be Notre Dame because if you look at it, they beat Georgia. And if we were asking who do you think is going to win between Georgia and Penn State, I think most of us would be picking Georgia for that win. So
easily.
Exactly, like no question there. So I've got to say, by transitive property, I think it's going to be Notre Dame, and I'm actually okay with that because I think it's a very interesting narrative that Notre Dame is one of those few schools that isn't in any kind of division or anything like that. They're just Notre Dame. It's not Big Ten. It's not SEC. They're their own just independent school.
That's wild to think about like that. Where it's like, they're not in any like thing. It's just like, who are they? It's just Notre Dame and Notre Dame only.
It's just that's who we are. Yeah, I really like that. So I think it'll be cool if we get a team in the championship that is representing just themselves. But
That would be cool.
I'll say it now: whoever wins the Cotton Bowl is taking the championship.
Ooh, that's the thoughts, huh?
That's what I think, because I think I think Texas or Ohio would beat both of the other teams.
Penn State. Okay. I mean, we'll see, right?
I think it'll be close either way, though. I don't think we're going to see any more blowout games for the rest of the season. I think these two games and the championship are going to end up being good games. I think everyone's going to bring their best. Yeah, I don't think nobody's going to lay down. Nobody's going to come in cocky. I think everybody's going to give it their all, and I think it's going to cause for some really good football.
Well, yeah. At this point, if you do, then you're just kind of dumb as a team, to go in there and take it easy or whatever, right?
I mean, kind of we mentioned how weird the football season's been for the NFL.
Yeah.
I feel like the opposite with college. I feel like it's been a great season for college ball. Everybody's been giving it kind of their best. We've had some really big upsets, some shockers. It's kind of kept things, almost even. I mean, we've definitely had some people win more than others, but a lot of underdogs coming in, showing it. I mean, look at Vandy coming back from basically obscurity. They're in the mix now as like a decent team. There's a lot of teams that I think stepped up, and I've actually been more excited, I think, with the college this year than the NFL.
I mean, David, to your point, I honestly think that's why the NFL has been so weird, is because they've seen the classes and like just the quality of players that are in the college league or just in the college division this year, and they're trying to do what they can to kind of tank as much as possible to get as many of those players as they can.
And I don't blame them. I mean, if this translates into the NFL the way it should, we're going to be in for a hell of a next few seasons.
Fingers crossed, dude. It's been a rough couple seasons.
Yeah,
but,
it'd be nice to get back to some good competitive, like. I like it when the last week or two of football, you still have no idea who's all in the playoffs, who's taking the seeds. I hate it when people clinch stuff in like week 10.
You're like,
no starters are playing the last week.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I guess you're just off for a month. Like, no. Yeah. I like it when all the games on like last weekend Sunday mean something, and it's not like, well, which team actually is playing for something. Like, it's so much more exciting.
I mean, as we were talking about earlier too, I think these next two games are going to be career makers for everybody that's on these four teams. Because if they give it their all, and if we get highlight reels on ESPN the days after this, it's going to be this draft season is going to be wild, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. This feels kind of like reminiscent of the early 2000s draft class, where we're going to get like the all stars for the next like decade, and I'm pretty stoked about it.
I mean, like Keegan, you were mentioning earlier that you were thinking Ewers probably going to Giants.
Yeah.
If he just shows up and balls out for the Cotton Bowl and then takes the championship and it's all because of him, he's going to shoot up. He's going to become, one or two almost, depending on what he does. Like they've all got a chance to really prove that they want that NFL job, and I think the field's wide open. I don't think anybody's run away with it so much that they're not all in contention if they really pull off some great games.
I mean, we currently don't know who gets number one though, right? So far. Or
no, the Titans get number one.
Do they?
Yeah, we know who's picking, but we don't know like college-wise who they might go for.
Yeah, I'm thinking Cam Ward. It kind of seems kind of the narrative is Cam Ward, and then Sanders to Cleveland, and then I think who has number 3?
Sanders would be a good fit in Cleveland, I think.
You think so?
I think the Giants have 3.
Scatterboo probably.
And then Patriots have 4. That's right.
But we also don't know if there's a desperate team out there who might be trading up.
Trading up, yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe one of these teams want Travis Hunter more than they want a quarterback. Maybe the Titans, maybe Cleveland. I don't know. We'll find out. It could shake it up. But Grayson, speaking of your Cleveland, Penn State, Notre Dame.
Honestly, kind of similar thoughts to Nolan and David. Notre Dame, I think, is going to take it. They're riding a real hot streak right now. Notre Dame didn't play terrible teams, but they were definitely below Penn State quality. And I think that they are, again, as we talked about, I think they're ready in theory, but when they get punched in the mouth by Notre Dame riding this hot streak, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. Again, like we said before, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think if Penn State is not ready to, give it their all, I think they're going to lose the lead, or I think they'll start out like a little strong, but I think they're going to lose just by the end of the game because I think Notre Dame's going to want it more.
Kind of wear them down, yeah.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's got more stamina.
Sometimes that's nice when you have good players and stamina and all that kind of stuff. But it really does sometimes come down to who wants it more.
Absolutely.
Having heart. I was gonna say that was one of those ones that I brought up last-ish week or whatever. Because Grayson brought up a good point, but that was a point that I was gonna make. Is I was like, sometimes, man, that's what it is, right? Like the analytics. That's what it is. Analytics don't show heart. That's what I mean.
It's just the cold hard numbers. It doesn't put in the human element.
Right. It doesn't put in the human element of maybe this guy just wants it more than the other guy, right? And sometimes that makes a world of difference. That's the difference between getting stopped on the one, right, or getting that touchdown. Realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the show Pantheon. If not, great show. I would definitely check it out. But essentially what they talked about is you can try to do problem solving as much as you want to, but what truly makes human beings great at problem solving is emotion. And then factoring that into any sort of statistic, it doesn't matter, as you said, just what the statistics show. It's going to be whoever can put everything they've got into this game to get it the most, or whoever wants it the most.
Yep.
Bobby, who you got?
I got Notre Dame. So I remember the Culz era. God, they were a powerhouse. When he coached, they were big.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame too. I'd say Penn State if they, I don't know, they did look really good this past game, but like we said, it's kind of who you play at times too. And Notre Dame's had some really kind of physical, both mentally and obviously physically games, but playing in in-state rivalry with Indiana and then coming out and just beating up on Georgia, which is a hard thing to do, even if they're not without Carson Beck. But yeah, I think Notre Dame is going to take it there and take it to the championship. So let's see who we think is going to win the Cotton Bowl, which is January 10th, between number 5 Texas and number 8 Ohio State. Brendan, is there going to be any shock to who you're picking? Oh, too sweet? Too sweet? Is that what you said?
I think he did this, and he meant to bring in more for Ohio, right?
Is that how that goes?
Breaking my heart, Brendan.
No, we're not doing Ohio.
Brendan is a big Glenn Powell fan, so that's why he became a Texas Longhorn fan. So
Not the reason I became a Texas Longhorn fan, but okay.
I don't know.
He just really likes steaks, and he really likes the color orange. So putting those together, it was Texas.
I do have quite a bit of pictures of Brendan in a Longhorn shirt in Texas, so I do have proof from years ago. He's been. Nolan, what about you? Texas or Ohio?
Well, if I'm being honest here, I'm definitely gonna go with Texas for the W. But the horns down in me, obviously, would like to go for Ohio. So, realistic answer, Texas. However, my answer is going to be Ohio
But
State.
emotional answer.
But emotionally and everything else, sorry, got to stick with horns down. I'm going to go Ohio State on this one, against the grain, against my better judgment. I'm really hoping those Ohio State guys have the biggest hearts out there, and that Texas decides that they want to take them very easy and not serious, and they literally fumble the ball and give away the game. That's what I'm hoping for.
What's funny?
Ohio State, baby.
Ohio
State.
I 1,000% believe if Arizona wouldn't have done that to Arizona, they would have done that with Ohio and not taken them as seriously as they should be. And I think
they just did it one game too early.
I do. I think Arizona blew it for Ohio. I think that if Ohio would have laid down the way Texas expected, they would have come in way more cocky against Ohio. Even with Ohio's great performance against Oregon, they would have been like, eh. And I think Ohio could have shocked them right away and kept them down. But I think Arizona doing as well as they did,
You think they're awake now?
really put them on their guard.
Yeah, put it got their walls up, huh? Got their heads on right, essentially.
Got their horns on.
Okay, yeah, that works. But yeah, no, I think I agree with you, David, on that one. That's exactly probably how that's going to go. That's why I was like, man, like realistically, I was like, oof, I don't think they're going to play Ohio State the same way that they, that they played Arizona for sure. Like they're definitely going to be a lot more on their toes and a lot less relaxed.
Yeah,
for sure. So that's why I was like, yeah, realistically, it's probably going to be Texas, but I'm just to be contradictory, to be contrarian for the point of
just so that your future children can't look back and be like, Dad, you said go Longhorns right here.
Yeah, that's because I would never say that in my life. I gotta keep that horns down energy.
Right here, you said you love them. You said they're gonna win.
Little W hat too for the win today. A little bit of that right there. Yeah.
All right, so David, to follow that up, Texas, Ohio State.
Definitely Texas. Like I said, they've got the better talent, but they just came in way too cocky last week. That's why they almost lost that one. And Arizona doing so well basically took away the element of surprise that Ohio could have had. I think they are going to be drilled all week. They are going to be training so hard. They don't want to embarrass themselves. Plus, they are now the last SEC team left, and it's their first year in it, and they would love nothing more than to be like, our first year in, and we won it all. I mean, they already got denied the championship, which already hurts their pride. So if they can come in and win the actual, the entire ship over this, that's definitely what they want to do. Plus, it would help so much with recruiting to keep the ball rolling for them. They've got so much going. And for Texas, they're never happy until they win everything. Like, I think there's some teams that they're just happy to make the playoffs. That's never Texas. It's disappointing if they're not the number one at the end. That's, their pride is a plus and a negative for them. So,
well, I mean, like realistically, you're not wrong. It's one of those things like football in Texas or football to Texas. That's
like a religion.
It's religion, man.
Like
Religion.
Like your religion.
You know what I mean? Like that's religion. Like realistically, there's a reason why Friday Night Lights is a thing. You know what I mean? Or that
Their high school stadiums are better than some colleges.
Some of these high school stadiums
yeah.
are crazy. Like,
yeah, I've gone to college games that are in way worse facilities than where my high school team played football. Like easily. So I think Texas takes it. However, I do think it'll be a much closer game. I think it'll be good. I don't think it's going to go quite into overtime the same way like Arizona's did. I think it's going to be a back and forth, and I think Texas is just going to end up outlasting them. I think it's going to end up being in the last quarter, Texas really pulls away and puts it to bed probably by about mid fourth quarter. But I think it's going to be an exciting game. I anticipate going to halftime probably pretty close to tied.
Grayson, what about you?
Let's get into it. On paper, I think Texas obviously has.
Grayson pulls out a whiteboard.
Let me give you my dissertation.
Hold on.
I'm glad
We're
you
gonna be here
asked.
for 3 hours,
Big
right?
scroll.
We're only talking about the Ohio State Texas game tonight, right? I think on paper, Texas obviously has the edge. The skills there, everything else, statistically is there. But as we brought out tonight, emotions are a hell of a thing, and it can cost you championships or can win you championships.
Yes, sir.
I think David does have a point with the Arizona game, but I also think that once you get so cocky where you start kind of getting off on a back foot, it's hard to shake because obviously they relied on their talent, pulled out the win, all that jazz, right? But I think there's a large part of me that's like, with their confidence, I don't think that they're really ready to take what Ohio State has to give. Because when Ohio State's in the postseason and they're wanting to, prove that they still got what they got and they're rolling the Buckeye way, I think they are about to, if they're not like out of their cocky phase, which I think obviously we've all been, young 20-year-old dudes. it's hard to shake that off once you kind of get in that vibe. I think that they are going to get caught off guard through the first half of the game. And then I think they're going to try to play catch up. And I think it's going to get really close in the fourth quarter. But I think Ohio State is just going to put in more of that effort. And I think they're going to pull away with the win.
I like it.
Bobby, who are you taking?
Ohio State. They're a powerhouse. I think they're going to win by 7. It'll be close.
All right, to just shake things up a little bit, why don't I say Texas? Then we're all tied 3-3, which means you guys got to go to the comment section and tell us who you think's going to win.
He's
Maybe
only
we'll just
saying
do a
that,
poll.
Brendan, because he knows that we're the ones who most consistently show up, and he doesn't want us to stop being here.
No, if you guys, I mean, so everyone's talking about like the effect that the Arizona game had, and I think the game we're not really talking about is the effect the Oregon game's going to have, where maybe Ohio comes in a little too cocky, and I think it'll be very close. If Ohio wins it, I can see that happening. I think either of these teams can. I just think Texas, being that they did have more of a letdown and aren't coming off that high, are going to have a little bit more to fight for. So,
Not only that, but I think quarterback-wise, Ewers has more to fight for in raising his draft stock. I think because he conceivably could get himself to number 1 almost if he had just a hell of a couple games.
yeah,
If he really shows up,
You think so?
if not 1, 2, I mean, like he can climb up to one of those very top spots, whereas the other ones don't have as much heat on their name, even if they did fantastic. I don't know how high realistically they'd still be able to climb.
Well, I mean, but,
plus,
okay,
yeah, they don't have Manning sitting behind them. So,
right?
That's true. I mean, if Ewers is fucking up by that halftime, I would not be surprised if Manning gets the nod.
Bring in the lefty.
I mean, yeah, because Sark's a great coach and he wants the win. So if that means sacrificing Ewers to the football gods, he'll do it.
Yep. Let's
Mhm.
go ahead and just get a little.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Yeah.
I mean, and it seemed like when it started to kind of fall apart last game, all of a sudden you kind of saw Manning walking around throwing some passes. So I don't think it was
they
totally
were
off the
thinking
table
about it.
last week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They were definitely thinking about it.
Well, Keegan, I'm going to challenge you too on Ohio State coming in cocky. I think when you start off on the back foot and then you have to kind of, lock in to get, beat teams that are ranked higher and played, better than you did all season. I don't know if it's cockiness, if it's much more discipline, but I think I understand where you're coming from. But I think when you start off on top like Texas did going into this offseason and then you kind of get rocked a little bit, it does kind of – I feel like the scales of this game are definitely kind of still swaying both sides up until obviously game time. So I think, this is the fun part of football that I've missed for a long time.
Right. Yeah, this is one where it could really go either way, honestly.
And that's what makes for the best games.
Iowa
Yeah.
State is a 5-point favorite
Ohio State is.
as it stands right now.
I mean, yeah, because they just murdered the number one
way,
seed.
Yeah. After the way they just played, Texas is lucky it's only 5 points.
Well,
I mean, that means that it's relatively an even game then, for the most part. If they're only, you know what I mean? If
within
they're
a touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, like seriously within super close like margins.
Plus, you have to remember out of the two, this is almost a home game for Texas.
I thought it is a
Like-
home game.
It's at AT&T Stadium in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, that's like right down the road. Like that's
I mean, yeah, it's only 4 hours away, 3 or 4 hours away.
that's basically a home game.
So many of those fans are easily making that drive
Oh,
to be at that game, as opposed to coming in from Ohio.
Yeah, that stadium's about to be orange.
Yeah. It's going to be like 75-25. I mean,
If
they'll
that.
definitely have that. And I can almost guarantee almost every player on that team, if hasn't played at AT&T, they've been there at least. You know what I mean?
You know what? I
So-
might even go as far to say 60-40. Like on that one.
We'll see. We'll see.
Like
Ohio travels well.
Ohio State fans are pretty
They're loyal.
They're loyal,
Right.
man. They're pretty up there, So
Notre Dame is a 1.5 favorite over Penn State.
I can
yeah.
see that.
See that they're like this could go either way. Where they're not sure on that one at all. one point is definitely a we don't know who's winning this game.
That's margin of error kind of statistic.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like,
Yeah.
oof. chalk that up to peanuts.
All right, so Brendan, you got to pull up the who's favored in these upcoming NFL playoffs as well. But we'll start because we have 5 days of playoff football, 2 college, 3 NFL. We'll start Saturday, January 11th, with the early game, which is number 5 Los Angeles Chargers heading to number 4 Houston Texans. Brandon, who do you got and why?
Well, the Chargers are favored by 3, and I think that is probably pretty accurate. I'm going to say the Chargers. I have a little more faith in them right now than I do the Texans, and I know the Texans are partially due to injuries. That's why their offensive woes are so down this year. I read an interesting fact the other day that I shared in our group chat that every single playoff game in Houston Texan history since 2002, but they didn't make playoffs till I think 2011. So from 2011 to now, all of their playoff games are on Saturday at 3:30. All of them in history.
Interesting. So
I would like Houston to win. I am a Houston fan, but I do think the Chargers are the better team.
All right, Nolan, what about you?
Realistically, I didn't have a lot of faith in the Chargers this season at the beginning. Then again, I also didn't really have a lot of faith in Houston either. I thought they were both kind of like not garbage teams, but I don't know. It's just Houston's been so scrubby for so long. It's hard to like put some faith into them. So for me, I'm gonna go probably with the Chargers, just because I like Herbo a little bit better than Stroud or whatever. Even though I mean the kid's doing good, but it's one of those things that realistically I think I give the edge to the Chargers. That, and I also don't like unlike Damian Pierce. That guy has screwed me over too many times. So, like I said, so just for that fact alone, I'm going with the Chargers because he's hurt me in fantasy many times. So he doesn't deserve my vote at all. All right. So Chargers it is. And yeah, that's my incredible deep dive on that one.
David, what about you?
Houston's had it sewed up. They were going to move on. But then the Chargers signed Ezekiel Elliott. And he is going to – they're going to the Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
As soon as he joined the team.
I
do think the Chargers definitely – I think they're going to get it. I just think it'd be the funniest thing in the world if good old washed-up Zeke gets a Super Bowl ring after being let go right before the last, and then just rides the bench all the way to glory. Like, dude, it'd be so funny.
That's the dream right there, really.
Yeah, I couldn't even be like, it would just be the funniest thing, especially if Zeke had one and Dak doesn't ever get a ring. Like, it's just so funny. All of it, like, so you know what? Just for the lulls, let's go Chargers.
Grayson.
Yeah, I want to say the Texans. I think, even though they do have, I feel like they've both been pretty similar in performance this season, but I think the Chargers do just have, a little bit more of that edge. And then, I mean, I did not know Ezekiel Elliott was picked up by the Chargers, so I think, in all honesty, they still have somebody who is still good enough to perform in the league that they can rely on outside of their other starters. So I think with that little nugget on the scale, pushing it that much further up, I think the Chargers are going to be able to take it away.
Interesting. Do they? Oh, speaking of which, sorry. Do they even give a reason, or they're just like, nah, we don't really need Zeke. Thanks though. Like
the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Zeke asked for it.
He requested to be let go specifically to shop around to see if anybody picked him up for the playoffs, and Harbaugh did it.
I was like, I didn't know you could. I don't think I remember anybody like ever doing that. Being like, look, all right, I know you guys are out, we're out, whatever. Like, can I maybe like still go play some football? Is that cool with y'all? Can you guys let me? Can I do that? Is that okay?
Can we do
that's crazy to me.
Program, please?
Yeah, I feel like Tyreek was trying to do that, but the Dolphins did not free Tyreek Hill.
Oh yeah, probably not.
He might go to LA.
I mean, I think it's pretty standard to pick up a couple of, backups and stuff before going into things. So, I mean, it makes sense. I just, I didn't know another team out there really needed that extra 6 yards a game that he added. So,
Hey, look, if we've learned anything, David, that those 6 yards a game, right, is the difference between Seattle getting another championship and not. Realistic.
It
Ryan,
was
you know what?
one single yard, and Russell Wilson couldn't pass that.
So you can
single
multiply
yard.
that by 6, Keegan. You see, this illustrates my point even further. All right.
I will also say,
Ziegler could have run it back 6 yards negatively, and we
To
would
be
have had a
fair.
better chance.
They still would've had a
to
better
be
chance.
fair, Zeke does at least have experience of being in the playoffs and such. So maybe he'll just be a little bit of that extra experience for the locker room with the younger guys. Like
Considered
he's
a
not, I mean, and he's a great guy, like personality wise. I've even met him. He's a good guy. Like he's nice. He's always been, so I wish him well. I got nothing wrong with him going to other teams. I know some people are like, oh, you're off my team. Fuck you. No, he's a good guy. I wish him the best. I just think it'd be really funny if they go all the way with him.
Zeke's playoff experience is only losing to the Packers. He doesn't know how to do anything less.
I
Still
believe
experienced, man.
pretty sure he also lost to the 49ers, okay? Okay.
But also, Brendan, every bit of experience is still experience when it comes to professional sports.
Look, when the Chargers inevitably lose, he knows how to lose with grace.
Well, Bobby left because it's a AFC West team, so I guess we'll just count his pick.
Skip that one.
We'll just give him the Texans because we know he very rarely picks. Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chargers. I think their coach better. Harbaugh very easily took a team that was just making silly mistakes and should have been better and made them better with less pieces than they had last year. The Texans, on the other hand, obviously there's the sophomore slump quarterback wise, but as a team, they've kind of just been garbage and have lucked out beating some garbage teams. And they're in the most garbage division in the NFL, so that's why they're here.
Yep.
And I think it's not even going to be close. I think it's going to be at least 10-point victory to the Chargers. Bobby, we said you were picking Houston. Is that right?
Who are they playing?
The Chargers.
No, I'm picking Houston.
Yeah,
I ain't.
yeah.
Nah, it's not San Diego.
Yes, yeah, I knew. All right, so our next one up is an interesting one because even though Baltimore, number 3 Baltimore, is a much superior team, number 6 Pittsburgh has their number, and I think it's 2-0 against them this year. So, can Russ Wilson? No,
They split.
Oh, they split. Okay,
Yeah.
so they split. But Russ Wilson, can he do it, Brendan? Can he beat Baltimore?
No.
No.
Bobby's also anti-Russell Wilson. Listen to that.
I actually just saw an interesting video that this could be either Harbaugh's last game with said team, just based off of playoff history. They both have not had the best recent playoff history, even though they are great regular season teams, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if I would have thought either of the head coaches would have been thought about being fired. Baltimore is a 9.5-point favorite, and I think Baltimore 3 weeks ago did beat the Steelers pretty easily. I do think Baltimore will. The Steelers have, I don't know, gone on a slump, and I don't know where their offense went.
They've done what Tomlin is known for doing at the end of the season anymore, which is getting up really good at the beginning of the year. I think at one point, what were they, 13-0 that one year, 11-0 and some, and then barely won after that?
Well, it's the meme that I saw the other day was, he gets above 500 and gets a winning season, and then he just decides to phone it in.
Coast. Yeah.
I think he pulls the Adam Sandler where he does the work a little bit, but then he goes to film a movie on vacation for the rest of his career. And I think that's just kind of what Mike Tomlin does is he gets up to the winning percentage to where they can't fire him, and then he gets to write it out because he wants to go home. He doesn't want to be playing football. He doesn't want to be coaching football no more. He wants to go home.
He's the backup quarterback from Blue Mountain State. He just does enough to stay in that number 2 spot, but he
His
doesn't
name
want
is
to be the
Alex
starter.
Moran. Don't you forget. All right.
Nolan, what about you?
Realistically, Pittsburgh is an interesting team. And I say interesting because it's one of those ones that, like, again, this season has been very wild. I thought they were kind of trashed here in the beginning of the year, just because they were, right? They weren't super great coming off the year they had last year. And I was like, well, they're picking up. They picked up, Russell Wilson coming off of an absolute garbage of a season with the Broncos, like, terrible situation kind of stuff. I was like, all right. But they did win some games this year. They won quite a few, and they kind of like cleaned it up. A lot of them were relatively like close. But it's one of those things that I think realistically, this game doesn't depend on Russell Wilson. I think this game depends on how well Lamar plays. And it's one of those ones that he's played. I mean, he's had a fucking great season, right? Absolute great season this whole year. It's one of those things that I don't really particularly like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, but it's one of those things that this year he's actually shown me that he can play the quarterback position and play it very well. So realistically, I think it depends not solely on him, but more heavily on which Lamar Jackson shows up to these games, because that's the important bit, right? Is like whoever shows up. So I think realistically it's dependent on if Lamar shows up or not this game versus, can Russell Wilson do it or whatever.
So basically, it's Baltimore's game to lose.
Yes, 1,000%. That's exactly how I would describe that, David. It is definitely Baltimore's game to lose, just because they are, like Keegan said, the superior team for sure. I was going to say by far, but by sure came out instead. It was by far or for sure. My brain goes by sure. All right. So yeah, I definitely say that Baltimore, they're the ones ready to lose this game realistically, than it is Pittsburgh, trying to win this one.
That sucks, dude.
All right, David, what about you?
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I agree with Nolan that I do think Baltimore's by far the superior team. They've been great. They did have kind of that dip though this season where they had some very off games there that went really weird ways. I think Zay got hurt this last, didn't he? Is he still out, Flowers?
Yeah, Zay Flowers
Yeah.
got hurt.
Yeah, so that
He got
may
hurt
end
earlier
up-
in the year too.
Yeah, but that may end up being a bigger impact on this than we kind of thought. It shouldn't be close enough that something like that pushes it over. But with as weird as this year's been, I could see it being a difference maker. And like we already said about Tomlin, maybe if Harbaugh's moving on, possibly if he doesn't do too well, maybe we're looking at the new head coach for the Dallas Cowboys on one of these two teams, depending on who loses, It'd be interesting to see. I think whoever gets out this round, though, I would not be surprised if they are not with that same team next year. Like that may be a shock for some people, but I think both of these franchises are kind of the point where if they're not getting at least to AFC, NFC championship, whatever, that they're going to be looking for answers somewhere else.
Mhm.
And whichever coach goes away, though, that's a great grab for somebody. Because I think they're both stellar coaches. Even if they didn't get to the Super Bowl necessarily, I still think they're pretty solid, and they'd be a breath of fresh air to throw into the coaching carousel if they end up there.
Grayson, who you taking?
Pass. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, somebody will pass in the game. Good job.
Yes, that is a part of the game of football. Yes.
As a Browns fan, he doesn't
So
know.
there is first, third, and fifth down, right? Oh, sorry, fourth. That's what I meant. Anyway,
I mean,
with
the way McCarthy coaches, sometimes you'd think there's a fifth down.
kind of feels like it.
I'm going to say the way Brady counts, you think there's a.
But as a raised Brown fan, it's just par for the course having to see this play out again. But I agree with David. I agree with Nolan that this is Baltimore's game to lose, essentially, because Pittsburgh, while Mike Tomlin is a really good coach and he's proven that in the past, I think he's tired of being in Pittsburgh. He wants to go somewhere else. I think he'll still put up a good performance to where if he gets fired and wants to go to, another team, he'll land in good graces, but I don't think he's going to give it his all. I think he's going to, unless like for some reason there is just a gigantic opening and he can just press down on that weak point for Baltimore in order to up his stock for whenever, Pittsburgh decides to cut him loose, because he's not making it all the way. I think he's not really going to give it his all at any point unless that weak point shows itself. And I think Baltimore and Jim Harbaugh are just a combination that's proven the test of time. And I think Baltimore's going to pull it out in the end. But one thing I will say is I think with these teams being as, having the same coaches for almost 20 years at this point, it's I think the AFC North is probably, like, even if anybody moves to the second round or even the third round in this, I think these coaches are not going to be with this team much more than a year after this, because I think they're going to look for somebody that's going to be able to, at least give them more of a push all the way through. But I think Baltimore is going to take the W on this one.
Bobby.
I see Baltimore knocking Pittsburgh out.
Yeah, I'm going to go Baltimore as well. I don't think it matters who plays quarterback Pittsburgh, be it Fields or Wilson. I just don't think they can keep up with Baltimore. Baltimore is actually playing on all cylinders. We've seen them just be able to score on multiple different ways, be it tight ends, because they have two really good tight ends. They got multiple really good running backs. Derrick Henry obviously leading that charge. And they got a decent receiver room. For some reason, they're just not very good at collecting receivers. We even seen Quentin Johnson come in, catch a pass, and then they released him. But yeah, I think Baltimore will get the job done. So that takes us to Sunday, January 12th.
Hey, great game out there. Now get the hell out.
Yeah. Get out of here. Yeah, it was a really weird
to play. They tried to put him in the game in Philadelphia, and he saw Philadelphia's secondary and said, nope.
Damn.
He saw what what's his name did to Derrick Henry, lay him out in the field, and he was like, nope, not going out there. Cooper DeJean.
I mean, to be fair, Derrick Henry is an absolute workhorse and monster. And if anybody can do something like that to that dude that size, I don't want any part of that. You know what I'm saying?
Can we talk for a second about how fucking stupid it was to not let Saquon go for the record?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That game's coming up.
That game's you can't get it now.
Well, I meant.
It's over.
I know, but I mean, the Eagles is in a couple games.
Dumb.
It is dumb. The Twitter universe, the X universe, Facebook, everywhere I looked for sports, even actual NFL pundits were like, why aren't you letting him go for the record? You're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, so might as well be part of something historical.
Right. That's crazy. I didn't think about that. I was like, maybe they think they still have a chance or something, but
I mean, they do.
Brandon, don't lie to yourself. They have as big a chance of getting there as the Dallas Cowboys.
At least we made the playoffs.
Ooh,
where are the Cowboys?
spicy.
Sitting at home?
Damn, they said they're on the golf course.
Yeah, they're relaxing. Not even.
Could take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl someday. It's just going to cost him a lot of money because he has to buy everyone tickets.
Got to buy all those tickets, yeah.
He's friends enough. He's got connections. Okay, they're gonna let him in for free.
That's why Jerry keeps him around, right? No, I think it was dumb. If I was me, I would have gone. Now you have some awkward conversations you have with your players. Barkley's whole interview just seemed off. He seemed upset about the whole. I mean, obviously he wanted to go.
I was like,
for
of course he's upset. Wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
Not only
was
that, but if you're that
wanted
player, look how great he did for them this season. I think it's safe to say they probably won a couple of games because of him. He was probably what pushed it over.
Yeah.
So let's say you get out in the second round of the playoffs. how is that player going to feel about that, and how is he going to work for you next year, knowing that you basically screwed him over from his guaranteed into the Hall of Fame?
Well, and as we even talked about last week, like let's be honest, he's not going to get hurt against the Giants. They should have let him go for it. I knew they wouldn't, but they should have still let him go for it because there's no way.
Wait. Let's check on that. Brennan, did any running backs get hurt against the Giants this week?
No.
Dude, the Giants,
I don't know.
that is the
Only
closest
rushed
I've
20
ever seen.
yards.
Yeah, the Giants did what I think is the closest to seeing somebody throw a game on purpose. It was like, oh no, he got past me. Oh, he caught it.
Oh, stop him! Oh no!
Yeah, because
Dang it, I wanted the
Wait, no,
ball.
come on.
Gave him the old Willy Wonka. Oh no!
yeah, the
stop.
Giants wanted to move up, obviously, and yeah, to me, the offensive linemen were. It feels like a really weird. I mean,
Eagles only ran for 50 yards total, that whole team. Their leading rusher was their third string running back at 30 yards. They didn't even rush for 100 yards. If one of their
Because
running backs had
Saquon wasn't
gotten
out
100
there.
yards, I would have been like, you definitely should have played Saquon. But their running game was so bad that they didn't even get 100 yards.
Because
Yeah, but
Saquon
Saquon
wasn't out
leave.
there.
I was like, because he wasn't out. Yeah.
If
Yeah,
he was
Sa-
out there, they
like
would have
that,
made
yeah.
it a point to do it.
yeah, Saquon has more 60-yard
they
rushes
would've
than
made it
anyone in the NFL ever
The
has.
Giants
Plus,
would have
did
made
you
it a
would you
thing
want to be
for
that backup
the
running
playoff
back
game.
that came back after the game and like, I got your 100 yards? You don't want to do that. No.
That would have been hilarious.
Sirianni just made it a point not to rush it to make the stats look like, yeah, see, that's why we didn't do it. I think he's out. I think if they don't make it past
Oh, yeah.
maybe even 2, he's done. He's been arguing with
Especially
the
if he has
fans.
to go plays against the Bucks again and he gets bumped against the Bucks. I could totally see him being out. They've done worse things to better coaches. Andy Reid.
Yeah, Andy Reid went to 5 straight championship games, and they're like, you know what, we can do better.
We can do better. Yeah.
Let's hire Chip Kelly because that's better.
You know,
Yeah.
True story.
Sorry,
All
trauma.
famous last words.
So, anyways, going to Sunday, January 12th, we will start with the early game, which is number 7, Denver Broncos. This fan base was chanting, "We want Buffalo." We're going to find out how much they really wanted the number 2 Buffalo Bills come this week, because I think Mr. Wyoming Josh Allen's about to carve their defense up. But, Brendan, off to you.
Buffalo is an 8.5 point favorite. I want to say Buffalo, but the games that I have watched, Denver's defense doesn't look terrible. So, and it's really shocking to me that Bo Nix can take pretty much the same people with one less receiver than Russell Wilson had and lead them to the playoffs.
Well, you got to remember they sat Russell for like 4 of those games and didn't win any of them.
But
so
still,
that was old Sean Payton last year. He
Yeah.
like nuked that team.
better draft capital.
Well, it's because he told Russell Wilson, Broncos
didn't-
Nation, let's ride the bench. That's what he said. So,
I do think Buffalo will win, but I am excited for this game. I think Denver can put up more of a fight than I don't know. I've heard some people say that they actually have a chance.
You need to listen to other people, Brendan.
Probably,
Uh,
yeah.
different people. Yeah, not the other.
Nolan, what about you?
As you can tell by the name here, I'm going all in on the Mafia for getting all the way to the ship this year. May not win the actual the ring or whatever, but I got them. I want them going all the way, especially because I gotta have some faith in a team, and I like Josh Allen and a lot of the Bills guys. So that, and I mean, like, realistically, the Bills fan base, it's such a fun fan base. Like, I just, like me, I don't like the Eagles fan base because most of the time those guys are all buttholes and they just riot for no reason. Buffalo's just like, hey, we're gonna throw people through tables, drink lots of beer, and just have a great time. And it's very like West Virginia reminiscent of me. So I can get behind that, But yeah, so I'm gonna go Buffalo over the Broncos, just because I think realistically, if I'm being honest, I think maybe the Bo Nix getting to the playoffs might be the factor there, right? The young, inexperienced kind of win or go home kind of thing or whatever can probably play a little bit on the mental for like a rookie quarterback like that. So that, and I'm trying to think now, is like I don't think they have any like crazy like vets on their team that have been super deep into the playoffs or even have a ring or anything like that. So like and that plays a factor, right? You know what I mean? Like either experience getting there or just having somebody to like really lean on just in general. I think it's coming down to that for the most part, and it's one of those things that Josh Allen's had a hell of a season, so I think they're gonna do well versus the Broncos.
Von Miller is going against his former team.
Oh, and Von, yeah. I mean, to be fair though, like right now, Von Miller is not.
Oh, I know he's like
2016 MVP Von Miller. So
no, he's more like a second string, in and out type pro. But I'm just saying.
But when it's your old team, yeah. But Brendan, maybe McDermott will be like, "Hey, I know it's your old team, so we're gonna bench you this game and not let you play."
That'd be ridiculous. He has no ties there.
Absolutely not. Yeah, but also it's one of those things that dude wouldn't do that because he just literally the coach like let his punter go make $100K or something, a bonus. Like good guy him. He was like, yeah, instead of kicking a field goal or something or other, he's like,
yeah, they just punted it just so you got it. Like,
and then he's like, dude made $100K bonus, and it's like, dude, yeah, good on you, good guy, coach, right there. Like at the end of the season, we're playing New England. Like this shit don't matter. Let's get our guys some money. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Take care of your people.
And he was thinking, it's not my money.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, but yeah, it's one of those things. You take care of your people are going to take care of you, man. It's generally how that works. So yeah, Cowboys off all the way.
David, what about you?
Yeah, I think the Longhorns are just going to get. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that the? I don't even know why we're talking this long about it. Obviously, Buffalo's going to win. Whoever Brendan's talking about, that's like, I've heard people say they have a chance. Was that his cat? Like who
was it? That guy right there in the back? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It was the orange cat in the back. You're right.
I don't see it happening. I think the Bills are so hungry for this. They've wanted it for so long. They finally have the coaching. They've got the talent. They've got the team. This is their time to get it done. And they are probably our best shot of getting rid of the motherfucking Chiefs. So
I was gonna say,
and Buffalo, Bills, Mafia, all the way.
And here's the key: is they're not playing the fucking Chiefs in the first round.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's a different story now. Now that they're not playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I'm all in with the Mafia. Let's do it. Take down the Chiefs. Let's go.
Yeah.
Grayson, how has the Super Bowl win been affecting the Bronco fans where you're at?
They don't exist up here, which is so nice.
Oh yeah, no.
They're all either New York Jets fans or Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. So it's been pretty nice. Pretty nice.
Yeah, I would say so. They were acting like they won the Super Bowl the other day. I was just like, all right, guys, calm down. I know it's been a while since you've been in the playoffs, but let's have a little bit of composure.
Keegan, do you follow the page that the I'm from Denver page?
No.
You know the Olympics meme where it's that dude who got third place, but he's like,
oh yeah,
chugging champagne and all that. They basically showed like the entire AFC standings, and it's Denver's dead last, just doing all that crap. And I'm like, 100%, dude. I'll have to put it in the group chat or something here in a little bit, but it is top. Like as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
That seems about right.
100%. I'm like, yeah, that. Give a Broncos fan a mild W, and they think that they've won the entire AFC championship and got to the Super Bowl 8 times. Stupid. Anyway, who I'm picking, honestly, not because I'm, vindictive or anything, but just a little bit. Bills Mafia is going to definitely go all the way. I think Bo Nix, I'll give credit where it's due. Bo Nix is still a really good quarterback. The defense is, still, one of the top in the league, but I do not think that this team is cohesive enough to pull off a, championship win. I think they will give the Bills a little bit of trouble, but I think by about third quarter, Josh Allen's going to put the Broncos to bed, and it's going to be, Bills at least all the way to Kansas City.
Bobby, you just took your Broncos hat off. Are you
No.
thinking about
You
changing?
know what's going to happen?
All right, put it back.
Buffalo's not going to be a slouch,
We're about to get a rallying speech.
but I think we're going to win by 7. It's going to be us 31, Buffalo 27. Josh Allen's a hell of a quarterback, but I think we'll get it done.
Hey, you gotta have faith in your team. We applaud it.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah, no, I'm taking Buffalo. I like Bo Nix. I think he's a good quarterback, but they are missing a lot of other pieces on offense. They don't have a great run game for Denver. They don't have a lot of good receiving options. They have a decent defense that can become elite in years to come, but right now that Bills team has a ton of weapons, and I don't think they're going to be able to cover them all. And Josh Allen can get it done on his arm or on his legs. And I think he's just going to take over the game and give a little retribution to the team that maybe should have taken him in the draft that said, nah, he's not good enough for us.
I wonder where Mark Cooper is. They said he's missing. He's what, family or something? He's missing from the team. He isn't around the team.
I don't know.
I've
He's going to
not-
show up in an airboat at halftime. And the Buffaloes are going to win the Bourbon Bowl.
Yeah, also,
Bobby
also-
Boucher.
yeah, they're just going to roll out a number 10 Tyreek Hill jersey and run Tyreek out.
Honestly, I thought Bobby was about to give us a Joey Diaz speech about the Broncos just rising up.
It's not like Bobby Boucher. Slam that guy to the ground.
Bobby's just like, take Josh Allen's head off.
Rip it off, put it on a pike, send it back to the mafia. They know what to do with
I've
it.
seen his jersey at fans. They got him like Boucher. They got
They got a Josh Allen's jersey here
Boucher.
in fans.
Bobby
No, they
Boucher.
got a Bobby
yeah.
Boucher.
Oh, Bobby Boucher. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
might get that one. I'm like,
All right.
Right.
So moving on to another number 7-2 matchup. It's our 4:30 p.m. Eastern Sunday game. Green Bay Packers traveling to Philadelphia. Brendan, what's
you guys
the
I had to go do some stuff.
Are you ready
Okay.
for a second string versus third string quarterback matchup?
Who is it?
Ian Brook? Is he playing?
No, Tanner McKee is our third string.
Oh, but they got rid of Ian Brook today. They waived him.
Or did they? No.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's no. I think Jalen Hurts is supposed to be back. He took parts of walkthrough and everything Saturday. I know he is still technically in concussion protocol, but it sounds like he is supposed to play. And Jordan Love is also supposed to play. Him being pulled from the game after his elbow injury was just a precaution. It does suck that the Packers lost one of their good receivers, though. Eagles are opening it at 4.5 favorites. Yeah, I think the Eagles win.
Brendan, what do you think the likelihood of Barkley running for negative 101 yards is?
He's going to do it to spite them.
He's like, I'll take it.
Like if I can't have this record, I'm gonna have another one. Most safeties in a game. Is that
They're just like, get Barkley off the field. He's throwing the game.
dude's out here selling right now? Yeah.
They're going to get down to the 1 yard line, and instead of doing the tush push, they're going to try to hand it off to Barkley, and Barkley's going to take it 99 yards the other way.
The other way, yeah, absolutely. Only guy in history to do that. Nailed that one. Yeah, it's funny.
Nolan, who you taking?
Honestly, I generally have an anybody but Philly stance most of the time, unless it's the Browns or or the Cowboys. But for the most part,
Fuck you.
That's a wide base there, Nolan.
it's,
Jeez.
it's anybody but Philly most of the time.
Grayson and I are leaving and starting our own podcast.
Our own-
Yeah.
yeah, with
Let's
blackjack.
go, David.
It's going to be called the Brown Boys.
It seems
David,
We're still working on that name.
it's a working name.
It's Brown Boys asterisk.
Yeah, it was the working title.
it's the BBB, not the Better Business Bureau, the Big Brown Boys.
Jeez.
You better watch out when the Triple B's in town.
Ooh. And now it's the Big Baller brand. They're gonna get sued. Yeah.
I didn't think of that. Whoops.
Well, yeah. No, it's fine. I think realistically though, I think Philly probably ends up winning this game. Just because I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Green Bay games this year. So I'm like even relatively surprised that they kind of like made it. I know a buddy of mine is a pretty big Green Bay kind of fan. And it's one of those things that I think he's pretty surprised that they made it as well because they weren't supposed to have a decent year. So like realistically overall, I think the Eagles probably go ahead and take this one. Even though what is it? We have a saying. It's like Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and who's the? Is it Jalen Hurts? I don't know. There's one more of them. They're all the same person, so they're all literally the same quarterback. So, it happens. But yeah, so I'll go with Philly overall.
David.
Yeah. Just like death and taxes, I feel like the Eagles collapsing around playoff time is one of those inevitabilities for most of the years. Also, I am intimately familiar with people thinking that a Green Bay team isn't going to win and is playing a team much better than them and them winning. Might have happened very recently that I know of. Oh. No, I think Green Bay is going to take it, and I think it's going to cause a huge coaching upheaval in Philly.
Yeah.
And I think Green Bay will then exit the playoffs the next round.
Just beat them and immediately lose.
Pretty much. That's
what we came to do was beat these guys.
Well, then you go play the Lions and the Lions.
Oh well,
because
I
think Green Bay is not great this year, but I think they are better than they were last year when Jordan Love was still a rookie. Yeah. I think the team is a little better than they were then, I think the Cowboys were better last year than the Eagles are this year. So again, by looking at it that way, I feel like that means this Green Bay team definitely has a chance of beating the Eagles because the worst Green Bay team beat the better team last year in the playoffs. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And, just as a standard, fuck Philly.
Grayson.
Yeah, sentiments are pretty similar. Fuck Philly. Just kidding. I can't really say that I have too much animosity towards Philly, but I think they'll end up beating Green Bay, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a tit for tat. But I do see the possibility that Green Bay is going to pull it out at the very end, just because, as David brought out, that's Green Bay's tendency. They have the ability just to be like, "Oh, what's that? You think they're going all the way? Nope," and just putting an end to that postseason hopes pretty quickly for a lot of teams. But I think in all reality, that's the way it's going to be. So give me Green Bay for that one.
I mean, they did just re-sign Aaron Rodgers today, so.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, hey, somebody had to take that off of New York's hands. Better them than him running another team.
Yeah, it's weird. It was one of the first teams in history that they actually got paid to take the player.
Like, no, we just take him back. I'll pay you just to take him off my hands.
I'll pay you, yeah.
It's like the kidnapper's taking the kid. Like, no, I'm giving him back, and I'm giving you just money because I know what you have to deal with.
Get this guy out of here. That's crazy.
All right, so realistically, I think Philly will win this one, but I think Green Bay really can come in and upset Philadelphia, maybe by a lot, like David was saying, or almost a repeat of last year. Plus, to do what they did almost feels like rubbing it in the football gods, and I think they'll come back and punish Philadelphia for it. It feels like the thing that's going to happen. Like, you sat your player to go win the Super Bowl and you lose first round.
I think you have a point
it was
there.
set up beautifully for him to get it. And the coach who's already on thin ice, who's already got the hate, said, "No, we're not going to do the good thing that will please people and make history. We're going to go all the way." Not going to happen.
Yeah, I think to that point too. I think that as you guys just brought out, the coaching is too afraid to go all the way, or at least let the big plays happen. And I think because of that, that's going to cost them this game.
All right, so that brings us to the final game of the Sunday docket, which is number 6 Washington Commanders going to number 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brendan.
I think Buccaneers. The interesting thing about all the NFC games, they've already all played each other at some point this year. Both the Eagles and Packers played each other week 1, and the Commanders and Bucks played each other week 1 as well. I do think Tampa Bay will win again, and they are 3-point favorites.
All right, Nolan.
That's it's an interesting take. I think this one comes down to, again, just because like a lot of them have come down to this, but I really think it just depends on which team shows up. Again, just because it is one of those ones that like the Buccaneers had some like weird games where they lost to some people that they probably shouldn't have lost to. And then I think that Washington had some games where like they beat some people that people weren't expecting them to beat. Because I'm being honest, I don't think anybody really expected Washington to be like a good football team this year. Especially because I know I didn't, right? Like it's one of those ones I was like, Washington's probably going to be garbage because they went through like a coaching change, an ownership change, like a lot of moving parts, right? Like for like a team to be like comfortable doing whatever it is. And they've completely proved me wrong from the beginning of the season. Because I was like, there's no way that these guys can be comfortable. They can be okay.
I mean, that's what the banner says in their locker room all year. It just said, "Prove Nolan wrong."
Bro, they were high-fiving that thing all season long. Because that's exactly what they've been doing. I'm like, Washington ain't going to win this game. Washington won the game. Shit. It's just that's exactly how they felt. So instead of their Notre Dame banner that they high-five, it's the Prove Nolan wrong banner every day, just touching it.
Nolan, it's just the picture of you from Open for Business, and it just says, "Prove this man wrong."
I feel like that's exactly it. But yeah, it's one of those things like, if I'm being honest though, I think I want to take Washington. It'll be like the dark horse here, or take the underdogs in this one for sure. Just because it's one of those things like not a big fan of the Buccaneers, right? But it's one of those things like I think it's cool for them to shake it up. I really hope that with this pick of me choosing Washington here, that they don't decide to do the absolute opposite of what they've been doing all year, and prove me right here. So yeah, it's one of those ones that that's what I'm looking for. We're gonna go with the Skins.
David, what about you?
Well, so growing up, always been a big fan of Pirates and lived in Orlando for several years. So Tampa Bay is almost one of my secondary teams. I like them. Great, solid team. Love the Pirate ship in the end zone and everything. Like super cool. Love that. And then you got to look at things like Washington is, of course, one of Dallas's rivals. So always been a little bit of a thing there. But I also have to think this last game on Sunday, I saw on the field probably the worst Dallas Cowboy team they've ever put on the field. And Washington, with their starters, barely were able to beat them. A little concerning there, but they did end up switching out. So we'll see. I do, again, as I mentioned before, though, Dan Quinn, I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he is a huge reason why they have been able to prove Nolan wrong so far. I think they came basically from bottom to top almost this year. It was a fantastic building year for any team. I think they need to be very proud of what they've accomplished, even if they lose this next game. I think they're in prime position to potentially take NFC East next year. I could definitely see it happening. I think while they do have the coaching edge in Washington, I got to give the quarterback edge probably to Tampa Bay. He's had some inconsistent games, but I think he's on a bit of a heater, as we saw by a certain championship that was won in our fantasy.
Oh yeah, Baker came through for somebody. Is that what happened? Is that what I'm hearing?
You bet your ass, baby.
And I think I hate to say it, I don't think either team is going all the way. I think they're
most likely not. But
it's just not going to happen. But I feel the same as Nolan, but I'm gonna lean a little bit in the other way. I'm gonna go ahead and just say I think it's gonna be the Bucks, but I wouldn't be surprised, whichever way it goes.
But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that that sentiment there of like, well, they went from bottom to top, man. They did great, and like realistically, like if you end this season with a loss, right, for like Washington, you can't be upset. Like realistically, like as Washington to go, you know what I mean, from being 1-16 or 2 whatever to making playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Grayson, who you taking?
Obviously, got to keep riding the championship win with, showing some love to my boy Baker. But to give you a little bit more of, sports breakdown and all that fun jazz, the Washington Commanders, I think they were just good enough to beat their schedule. Their team was just held together enough to beat the people that they were significantly better than, but they did lose to the teams that they were not nearly as good as. So I think their record, they kind of stumbled into a playoff, contention. And I think with that, they have the possibility to be, a ruiner for the Buccaneers and knock them out early. But I do think with what Baker has to prove and the, just the tools that he has at his disposal, I think that they are going to end up, probably pulling it out because they did lose to him already once in the regular season. And I think with Baker, he's proved himself in the postseason before. I think he'll do it again. I think he'll at least get, I think he'll take the game, and I think it'll be, kind of close, but I think it'll be within a touchdown of a win.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to take Tampa Bay as well. Baker has been there and done that. It's kind of something we've talked about, his experience in the playoffs. He took the Cleveland team and beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs, which was really big. And if he can do that there, he can do that here. Now, Washington has had a great year, like we've talked about. Jaden, early on, I said was going to have the best rookie year, which he did, or one of the best. I think Bo Nix might have outplayed him too. Dan Quinn's done a fantastic job, and I like to see that, being that he was our defensive coordinator in Seattle for a few. But when they've played the other playoff teams, like, say, Philadelphia was able to kind of just cakewalk them. And I think that kind of just shows to the experience. Like, even though Philadelphia was having some issues there in the building, they were still able to just easily dispose of the Commanders in a way that they haven't in previous years. And so I think Tampa Bay, just having been to the playoffs, and Baker's been to the playoffs and won, I think they'll be fine. They'll get the victory here. And that brings us Monday night, January 13th, where Minnesota has the chance to do the funniest thing ever, and that's lose to the Lions and the Rams back-to-back twice in the same year, even though they're not in the same division as the Rams. But they did that earlier in the year. In the regular season, they lost to the Lions and then the Rams. And now they have the chance to lose to the Lions last week of the year and first week of the playoffs as they travel to the number 4 Rams. Brendan?
Minnesota is a point favorite. So it's kind of surprising that it's only a point, considering Minnesota is the first 14-win team to lose their division. That's outstanding.
That's crazy, by the way. Like, that's those are like what is it? Like LeBron numbers or LeBron stats or whatever. Or it's just like weird, like just weird things. It's like, yeah. They're the only team to ever win 14 and still not win their division. Like, that's crazy to me.
When your third spot Green Bay Packers has a better record than the number 1 overall
Houston Texans in their division. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like insane, dude. You're like, what is this? But sorry, go ahead.
I do think the Rams were going to win, though. I think they'll pull up the upset.
All right, we're gonna see how many of us tempt the Darnold tonight. Nolan.
Tempt the Darnold, huh? Honestly, dude, I'm gonna go, and this again, unpopular opinion, I guess probably. I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one, and it's purely for the simple fact that I want to see what dances they have prepared this week when they score a touchdown. Like that's purely the only reason why I'm picking the Vikings here, is because they've been not only playing good football, right? Obviously winning games, lots of games, but they've also been putting in that hard work, learning choreography for their touchdown dances. And I think hard work like that has to be rewarded. So I'm going the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, David.
So the thing you got to know about Sam Darnold, he likes to play with his food. And that's what we saw with the Lions. He wanted to give them just that little bit of hope that, oh, yeah, you guys are good. Yeah, you got this. So that when they meet again, it will be all the more satisfying to him to completely crush their spirit and soul and move on to the Super Bowl. On a lighter note, I was all in on the Vikings as soon as they did the entire choreography to "We're All in This Together" from High School Musical.
This is what I'm saying.
So-
See, somebody else appreciates it. Absolutely.
By far, taking the Vikings, and Ramsey had a good season.
Yeah, anybody that can come and bust out High School Musical after a TD gets the win in my book any day of the week. Learn that choreography.
They've got their head in the game.
Oh, 1,000%.
Grayson.
Honestly, interesting predicament that we find ourselves in this game. Honestly, I think it's kind of the same thing with the Washington Commanders. The Vikings are a really good team off the bat, but I think they played a lot of teams that were really lacking this year. And again, they already lost to the Rams once this year during the regular season. And I think even with how good of a team the Vikings are, I don't think that they're going to have, as much as I want to see their, the dances they got. I do not think that they're going to be able to beat the Rams, and I think the Rams are going to be, pulling that out probably by, the final minutes of the game. So I do think it's going to be close, but I think the Rams are going to walk away with a W on that one.
Yeah, and for me, I think I'm going to have to take the Rams as well. And I want to tempt the Darnold. We'll see what happens. Maybe we won't have the podcast next week. Just my empty spot will be here.
It's
But
okay.
no,
the Brown boys will still be there for you.
Jeez. All right.
hey,
We got you.
Grayson took the Rams too.
That's because Grayson doesn't know. Okay, he doesn't know the lore like you do, Keegan. With great power comes great responsibility, and you
Doesn't
just ruined
even
it.
know.
I'm just here to be funny, I guess. No,
Yeah,
I
so in
didn't.
their earlier matchup, the Vikings were 5-1. The Rams were 2-4.
I was like, they were on a losing streak at that point.
Yeah, Minnesota got up big, and then it became 14-7. And then from there on, they didn't score another touchdown after the first. It went all Rams. Rams got 30 points. And I will say, watching the Detroit game makes me worried about, the Vikings defense, which seems kind of one note. It's good, but it seems like they just didn't adjust, because there was many adjustments where they could have won that game defensively. And B, man, Darnold got hit a lot, but he was still throwing it to Jefferson, who fumbled one, dropped a couple, and I don't know. It just seems like something's up, and I think the Rams.
So what you're saying is you should give up on your friends if they mess up once or twice, Keegan?
That's
Well,
what I'm hearing.
that's what I'm
is
hearing.
that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
fumble the ball once and you're not getting
Yeah.
it anymore.
Yeah,
That's
no, you're
crazy.
So-
gone. No.
So the other kind of thing to this now is they're in another weird predicament. What to do with, Darnold next year? Do they re-sign him? Do they try to whatever, because he's going to be a free agent? But also apparently they are now getting calls about their coach, Kevin O'Connell, getting traded out of there. So it just seems like a really weird situation going on in Minnesota, and right now I think the Rams are a little bit more steady. So I'm just gonna have to pick them for that.
So what I'm hearing is that nobody's interested in the coaching for the Rams because the Minnesota is so much better, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so O'Connell's on his last year. Now so now they're like to be
If you've
re-signed.
got enough money, it's anybody's last year.
Realistically, he's not wrong. David is very right about this, because I feel like the NFL is a place that go, "What's the problem? Okay, how much money can I throw at it to make this problem go away?"
Right.
Realistic, you know what I mean? Realistically, whether that be personnel,
Unless it's leaked emails.
right?
Leaked by maybe the NFL allegedly. I don't know.
They must have went to the
The allegations will get you too.
allegedly. Yeah,
It's that public perception.
oh man.
Well, see, now that we've gone through the NFL, Grayson, any pop culture news we should know about?
Nothing that I know of. At least I've not been able to kind of keep up to date on anything that's been pop culture relevant. So,
Did you watch any Spider-Man related content recently?
are we talking about the incident? Because I saw that happen in real time, and that was something else.
Wait, what incident?
What?
I think-
the Shanique
Ian was
Moore
talking
creeping
about-
on Josh Allen's fiance and a couple other chicks online that might postpone the release of Into the Spider-Verse Part 2.
Oh,
What did he do to Haley Steinfeld?
He posted a really cringy sad boy post about her being engaged and how he couldn't really get Haley Steinfeld now that she's engaged to Josh Allen. And then posted some other weird post about the chick that was in Spider-Man Homecoming as
Zendaya.
not Zendaya, the other love interest. That's not MJ. I forget her name in the movie, but he went to Michael Keaton was her dad in the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so she just like also she's married too, and he was posting weird stuff about that too. So, been a little. There might be a postponement in the conclusion to the Spider-Verse trilogy.
Oh, I believe
heard
what
of it.
Keegan was talking about was the trailer for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
I actually have not watched the trailer on that yet, but I've heard mostly positive things.
Interesting.
all right. Well, if we haven't watched it, we will move on from that.
You were
Unless
expecting
David-
Keegan. Am I just a one-trick pony to you? How dare you?
Well,
David-
you gotta be careful, Grayson. Don't fumble it, okay? Because then he won't give you the ball anymore.
Yeah, you're
Look,
done.
that's just what the Browns do.
He's
All
giving up
right,
on
that's
it.
just it's in my nature because I'm a Browns fan.
Keegan said one and done. That's what I said. That's what I
One.
said.
I'm surprised he keeps inviting me back into this podcast. How many times I fumble?
David, did you watch the trailer for the cartoon there?
No, I'm an adult. Sorry. No, I think it keeps coming up, and I've watched like 10 seconds of it, but I don't really care at this point. I love Spider-Man; it's my favorite hero, but I just want the movies to be doing well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm more invested in. But Goosebumps starts later this week, so that's exciting.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes, we will figure out a game plan on how we will review those, probably starting maybe next week, tentatively.
Tentatively.
Yes.
Yes.
We will post a comment once.
I believe it's pronounced tentatively.
Tentatively. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're putting the wrong emphasis on the syllable or whatever.
Look,
Sorry.
Nolan, you better check your statistics.
Tentatively.
Possibly. Yeah.
Hey,
No,
if you ever get sick of this, we're very diverse and accepting at the Brown Boys.
That only belongs in the shitty walk. All right.
Brown boys. I'll have to go check that trailer out though, Keegan, that you're talking about. Like pretty much like right after we're done here.
Keegan, obviously, you're the only one who saw it. What did you think?
I haven't seen it either. I didn't know it was like out until.
In that case, I saw it. I thought it was really good, but very odd that they're going like triple X with Spider-Man cartoons. I don't know how that's going to fly on Disney Plus, but interesting to see. I can't
Well,
believe
listening
his
to the
web
fans,
comes out
so.
from there.
But yeah, I can agree to some degree with David on that sentiment of I just want things to do well or whatever, especially because much like him, Spider-Man is also my favorite guy. Cool.
Well, and I know this one is like the first one just by Marvel. Like Marvel's kind of free.
This is like, from what I understand, this is kind of their version of the origin story since they didn't really do it in the movies.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is going to be him like becoming Spider-Man, right? Like his first
Well,
year.
So
Well, it's- I mean,
originally,
because we've had, like,
originally it
7
was
origin
going to be
stories. You know
Tom
how it goes,
Holland, and then they've cut that. They, for some reason, they walked that back.
I think
and
it was a
said-
rights thing. I think Sony wouldn't allow it.
Shocker.
I don't know. It might be Sony. It might be. I don't know. I just heard that originally that was the plan. Was this was going to be like year one, but maybe two. It's just storytelling. They want to do more, and they can't in that little span.
I guess in the same vein of that news, Tom Holland and Zendaya are officially engaged now, so mazel tov to them.
Yeah, the giant rock he gave her. She couldn't see that thing from space. Yeah.
But
That's it reminds
the
me
stuff
of
that I've seen of the trailer definitely is it gives off some pretty late stage Marvel vibes for sure.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger wants to grab it and try to put it in his ice gun. How big that
Dinosaurs.
the Ice Age. Look, as terrible as that movie was, I absolutely love that movie still. And shitty and cheesy, yes, but
I think it's because we all saw it
childhood
when we were
nostalgia.
younger. Yeah.
Oh, absolute childhood nostalgia any day of the week.
Look, you guys are coming off a little hot with those takes, so why don't you chill?
Chill.
All right,
What you gonna do? Chase the villain, save the boy. Yeah, absolutely. Freaking love that movie.
I just got a message from my agent. He says I shouldn't be seen on this podcast anymore.
Speaking of other pop culture news, though, Josh Brolin is in talks to join the DCU. So there's been lots of speculation.
Which he already was as possibly Green Lantern, I thought, right?
So they offered him Green Lantern, and he turned it down for something else he wanted to play. Which we
Another
know
role.
he went for Batman earlier. So could he be playing the DCU's Batman?
Absolutely not. They're going with somebody that's going to be around the same age, I believe, as Superman, from what I understand.
And that
'Cause they're
kid was
trying
young.
to-
So,
So,
Well,
Keegan, it's funny
but
that you
he's,
mentioned that too, because did you
he's
guys
got to
see?
have Damian Wayne though. So Damian's going to be like 12 or 15 at this point, and he's had 5 Robins.
No, I think that we've got a better shot of maybe Robert Pattinson crossing over than we do with Brolin taking it.
Josh
He's just
Brolin,
too old. Yeah.
Well, did you guys see? He reposted on his Instagram Boss Logic's edit of him being like his Thanos' dark side. And that's kind of leading to some speculation to where he could be, cast as dark side in the DC universe.
At that point, are you being typecasted?
pretty much.
I think so. As the villain, yeah,
But hey,
realistic.
if the paychecks keep rolling in, and you get to be, badass characters from badass.
I still
comics.
think Jensen Ackles from Supernatural would be a fantastic Batman.
I think he would be an awesome Green Lantern, but that's just me.
But I know, but they've already cast Green Lantern.
I know. I love Nathan Fillion, by the way, and that stupid ass bowl cut he has, ridiculous.
But I 100% would be on board with Jensen Ackles as Batman. He could do it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who they cast as Batman. I know Thad Castle's been trying to get that position as well.
Well, he was
Is that the dude who plays Reacher?
Yes, that is.
He can't act worth a crap. I hope he doesn't get
His
it.
name is Alan Richson.
Yeah, he's not Batman.
He's already played a
He'll always be
hero
Thad
before,
Castle,
though,
man.
like a couple now at this point. He was the original Aquaman in Smallville.
Yeah, and he was bad then. He's bad now.
Oh, I mean, that
Wasn't he?
2006, David.
Was he Hawk or was he Dove in the Titans show?
He was like
Yeah,
Hawk
he was
or
in.
something.
Yeah, he was in Titans.
Yeah, he has the stature, but the acting chops are. He's not there to pull off a Batman kind of role.
No, we need somebody actually nuanced with Batman.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody that can do one motion other than dumb buffed up jock dude.
What about Glenn Powell? I'm just reading off the names that I know have been.
Glenn Powell would be. He'd honestly would be
circling.
probably a better Green Arrow or even a Booster Gold. To be honest,
Honestly,
Yes.
Glenn get.
Princeton.
I
Oh, hold on. Sorry. You're the only other person I've ever heard say this, because that is exactly what I fucking thought when I saw him. I was like, tell me that Glenn Powell wouldn't be an amazing Booster Gold. Like
a million percent.
I think he would just be fantastic for Booster Gold.
Dude, he hits that sweet spot between cocky and still like kind of endearing to where you can still like him even though he's a total douche.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. I was like, after seeing him in Maverick, I look and I go, if they don't use this man for Booster Gold, they're missing out. Like
I feel like for the same reasons though, I could also see him as the Flash.
I could see that too. If he was
as a bigger character, and I feel because I think Ryan Reynolds would have been a fantastic Flash before he went the Deadpool route.
Yeah.
I think he could have pulled it off. But I did hear John Mulaney as Plastic Man is being considered, and I was like, I could see it.
Either
I don't
him
know
or I'd
how his
see
acting
Ben
is,
Schwartz
'cause
as
I've never
Plastic
seen
Man.
him in anything. But
He's fine. He's a good actor. I mean,
I just don't like his voice for Plastic Man. I don't know.
I could see, but doing that like pervy old, no, he could do it. He could do it.
Okay, I could kind of see that. Yeah, like I said, what's new, Pussycat?
So speaking of Flash, one of the characters that Brolin people have brought up is Eobarthon. So Reverse Flash.
He's too old to just be in this role. They've got to stop doing this.
Right?
They've got to stop talking about stuff like this because he is way too old. He's past his prime. If anything, he could, like, honestly, I would want to really see him as a Wildcat. Like, that he could pull off really well.
Yeah.
If those don't know what Wildcat is, he's the old boxer dude that, according to the animated series, trained Black Canary. So
yeah.
It should be Sean Penn.
course I'm
Could
talking
you
about
imagine Sean Penn in that role?
Oh, jeez.
No. Hey, Keegan, I love you, but stop.
Stop it. Stop what you're doing. But before I say, because it's one of those things, like, this was one of the things I was going to say, like, when we were talking about Batman and a whole bunch of other stuff, like, a couple podcasts back. Because the Robert Pattinson thing, like, as, like, Batman and all that kind of stuff, I was like, they kind of wasted Robert Pattinson, if I'm being honest, because I think he could have been a great Terry McGinnis, especially if you wanted to go, like, the dark, like, brooding type of, like, you know what I mean? Like, plus he has the body type, like the build or whatever, to be more of a Terry McGinnis versus like a Batman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just, I was like, oh, he would have been a great Batman Beyond, especially if you cyberpunk the shit out of it and then, you know, like set it kind of like in the future and have him kind of be, you know.
See, I think that's what could have saved the Snyderverse kind of things if they would have had Michael Keaton come in like they planned and he became the older Batman for Batman Beyond.
I was like that one, and then like a cool way to bring back Cyberpunk Mr. Freeze would have been freaking kick ass.
And this is like the perfect time to be doing like cyberpunk, steampunk type stuff. People would have been all over it.
They would have been all over it, and they would have made us so much money, especially if they wrote it properly, or even if they wrote it like any of their animated stuff, dude. It'd have been a knockout.
Well, that's the issue. WB is just allergic to money, especially when it comes to DC.
I guess so. But yeah, I was like, man, I would have used him for Terry McGinnis. You definitely use, old man Batman for sure. Yeah, you bring back a cool cyberpunk Mr. Freeze or something, and you're set. Like that'd have been awesome. But you know, I don't work for these guys, and you're right, Grace, and they don't like money. So.
It's like I forget what it was, but did you guys see that concept video about like they wanted to do an animated movie in the style of Into the Spider-Verse, and it was going to be, they wanted to set it in the Batman Beyond, world, and the test footage they released looked fantastic.
I'm sure that looked freaking sweet.
It would do I would check it out if you have the time to, because it is like maybe like 5 minutes long, but it's like it makes you be honestly, it has you like, I wish this was actually a greenlit project and we were getting this in like.
Could you imagine like a futuristic Batman Beyond where he's going against like the futuristic version of the Court of Owls, so he forms the Court of Bats?
Oh, that'd be sick.
That's right, like you can have some cool like crossovers, things like that, like all that shit, dude. It would be so awesome. But yeah, I think they definitely like that studio that makes like Spider-Verse or whatever stuff is awesome. Like if you guys have ever watched Love, Death, and Robots, like they've got a couple shorts that they've thrown their way, and they do look fantastic. Especially if they set a world of cyberpunk future Batman and something like that. Like that would just be freaking sweet.
Keegan, speaking of multiverses, there was since What If for Marvel has officially ended now. There's been a lot of leaks of episodes that were planned to be written and just didn't make the cut for whatever reason. And kind of tying into a future episode, they had a whole episode they were going to do that takes place during Iron Man 3. As you know, that was like around Christmas time, and he's dealing with all his own stuff. It was going to be like, what are the other Avengers doing? And it was all based off of Love Actually, the style they were gonna do. And I was like, man, I bet that would have been awesome.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been fun, guys. I have to take off.
Wait,
But,
before you take off, Nolan, where can people find you? Find your good projects?
YouTube's GBTXRRT. Hate saying that every time. On Instagram, Ghostbusters TX. And my personal one is Pacific Nomad 34. Speaking of which, Keegan, that you bring that up, we actually have a meeting this weekend, and me and Aaron are shooting a whole bunch of stuff on Friday. So be on the lookout for a whole bunch of new stuff that we've been coming up with and really needed to get out because it's just been forever and scheduling nightmares and just all over the place. But yeah, so it's one of those things that we should have some new stuff for you guys relatively soon. That'd be pretty fun and pretty interesting in our Ghostbusters land. So yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, we will keep an eye out for it. Thank you for joining us again. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Hey, Nolan, before you go, real quick,
Si, senor.
horns up.
No.
Horns up, baby.
Put him down. Just put him down. Okay, horns down. All right. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Maybe catch you guys next week, but definitely I'll be back for Ghostbusters or not Ghostbusters.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. That's
Mom,
yeah.
yeah. Goosebumps, Wolfman, book
Goosebumps,
club.
Wolfman, other stuff. Yeah, book club. Absolutely. So
At the very least, we'll see you next Tuesday.
yeah, right. I'll see you guys later.
This
See you.
Brendan, what are you doing this weekend? Anything fun?
No, I have no clue. We're maybe getting hit with another snowstorm Thursday, so that was fun this past weekend. 12 inches of snow with 45-mile-an-hour winds. Some places are like 6 feet deep.
Yeah, I saw the Chiefs
no one can
barely
drive.
made it to Denver to play their game.
Yeah, they had a 4-hour delay trying to leave because of the ice on the runways.
Yeah, I saw lots of videos.
It's a lot of fun, and we're supposed to be getting more on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to begin. Grayson, how's the snow holding up there?
what snow? We unfortunately have not. Keeps blowing around us and past us. We keep getting, some stuff, but nothing crazy yet. So hopefully that'll change soon. Because as much fun it is snowboarding on ice-packed mountains, it's not. Hopefully something changes here soon. But right now we're just keeping on. I will say one thing that might be new for your boy is look out for a review of Nosferatu coming from me this weekend. So, but I will make that officially official as soon as it's official. But we're working on getting that filmed and edited right now.
I don't want any spoilers, but is it worth checking out? Just a yes or no.
It is worth seeing in theaters, but you have to have the right mindset going into it.
I felt like, that's Nosferatu. So
yeah, 100%. So if you understand what you're getting in for, you'll love the movie. If you're like not really digging on some of the elements, it's definitely going to detract from the story.
So if you're aware of the old one,
go check it out.
Okay.
100%. Like as long as you understand, the story is going to be very different. Well, not very different, but there is some things they focus on that is an interesting take in the movie. But
and then it's not kind of your typical vampire story.
Correct. It's not horror. It is very, very gothic. So if you're expecting your Draculas, your Fright Nights, your stuff like that, your Lost Boys, it is not that. It is very much a drama, atmosphere-driven story.
How would you say that it ranks compared to Eggers' other 3 movies?
The way I can put it is I see where it's definitely probably because I've only seen the Lighthouse. I've not seen the Vivitch or the Northman, but I would say it's definitely probably one of my favorites because it's a more coherent storyline than some of his other stuff.
Okay.
All right, guys, I got to take my dog out, so I got to go.
All right. Well, David,
Abnormal Voyages, right?
Absolutely. We're taking a little bit of a break right now, but we'll be back in the next week or two with some fresh episodes. Otherwise, keep watching here, and we'll let you know when it's coming up.
Sweet. Well, you have a good night.
Take it easy, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Deuces.
Yes. Yeah, and we will be back. Obviously, we've talked about the Goosebumps, so keep an eye out for that. Some shorts will be coming out tomorrow. I think one of which is Buffalo Bill Cody's Grave. So if you guys want to see that, I know you guys really enjoy those type of videos. If you want to see that, one will be popping up tomorrow. I will be back for Goosebumps at some point next week. We'll start reviewing them episode by episode. I will be doing Wolfman on the 20th, and then on February 3rd, we will be doing our first book review. Just at the end or the beginning of February, so that you give the rest of the month to read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, who it's our first one, so just keep an eye out for that. It'll be live as well. If you guys don't have it, Amazon and or Target is selling them, so you guys can find it. Yeah, we'll be back for more cool sports chat next Tuesday to talk playoffs in multiple leagues again. We'll talk Jurassic World once that trailer drops, because it sounds like it'll be soon, and we'll get to talk about hybrids again, which I'm excited for. Not really. Actually, I'm a little bit more because of how they've talked about that, if it is true at all. But yeah, more sports chat to the left, more from us to the right. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and tell us, who do you think is going to be the upset of the week? Because there's always one upset in the NFL playoffs week 1. So tell us who's getting out early in the comments below.